Hello.
Oh, what's going on, y'all? Are either of you alive?
Nope.
No.
No. Okay, cool. Well, good to see you. How's the sleep? How's the eating?
If we had been live, would you have not have said good to see us?
I would have said it was nice to know you, at the very least.
Perfect.
So yeah, welcome to Teamfight Tactics Patch Notes 9.14. Get to look forward to weekly updates, by the way. It's nice to be playing a game where that's a thing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's going to be very nice. So one of the major points that I think is kind of interesting here, we made a boatload of balance changes and bug fixes. Amidst the chaos, a few things should emerge. Many tier 3 champions felt underpowered and not worth picking up given their price, so we're buffing a number of them to make them worth considering even at a single star. Conversely, many tier 4 champions have been nerfed as they were proving to be powerhouses, sometimes even without the need for additional stars or synergies. So let's take that point by point. One, the tier 3 champions didn't feel worth picking up before. Which tier 3 champions did feel worth picking up before?
Morgana.
Okay.
I think
I'm out of. I've run out.
I can think of ones that are shit.
Alright, chat's got some. Yeah, we got Ashe. Ashe is on there. Kennen's on there.
Ashe and Kennen, definitely.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, Poppy's garbage. Katarina's garbage. Vayne.
I think there's this weird thing where when you get to the like 4 and 5 cost units, you put items on them because they're like worth making carries. And on the 1 and 2 cost units, they don't really need items. Like they have abilities that do okay without items, and they're just health bars or whatever. But the 3 cost units are often in a really weird place in between. Like Katarina's good with items, but why would you put your items on Katarina instead of someone else? I think the same for Kennen. Kennen's really good with items, but not as good as Brand is. So why would you put your items on Kennen?
Yeah, well, that's a good segue. Conversely, many tier 4 champions have been nerfed as they were proving to be powerhouses sometimes, even without needing the synergies for additional stars. I think that's all of the tier 4 units, I think, were that way. What were the bad tier 4 units before?
Leona.
Yeah, okay. I kind of like Leona a little bit.
4, right? I wanted to like her, but every time I used her, the fact she had 150 mana was the most useless.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority were really, really
I think pretty much, I mean, like Gnar, Cho, Draven, Aurelion Sol, all, like, Kindred, every single one of them, with the exception of maybe Leona, was basically just worth getting a rank 2 version of, and then just being like, oh, okay, I'm happier with my composition now. This took almost zero thinking or planning.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, so those are at least the kind of like theme changes here. New, Twisted Fate, 2 gold, Pirate Sorcerer, ability, pick a card. Twisted Fate throws a card that randomly stuns, deals damage around his target, or restores mana to himself and nearby allies.
seems
What do we think
crazy
about that?
to me to add another sorcerer.
That is spooky to me that they're adding another sorcerer into the game.
I don't think there are balance changes on sorcerers really super
No,
hard
there
at all.
are on
Locket
Pirate,
got
but there
changed.
aren't on Sorcerer, which is, I think, sends a
Yeah.
little bit of a signal.
So now you have one more sorcerer to hit your Sorc 6 buff with.
Yeah, I think Sorc 6 was already a very, very strong buff. It's not like the early game sorcerers are weak. Lulu is just broken good, and so is Kassadin.
The only thing is, I think Twisted Fate, as balanced right now, isn't a very strong individual unit.
His
So-
isn't.
Is not.
Yeah,
Just
that's
looking
good.
at how he's playing on the PB. But the Pirate and Sorcerer traits are both very good.
What does
Yeah,
a composition look like that's taking advantage of Pirate 3 and Sorc 3?
MF.
Yeah, well, sure. I'm just trying to think of, like, if you have a team of 5 and you have 2 other Pirates and 2 other Sorcerers, I wonder what that looks like.
Presumably Pyke, although Pyke's getting a nerf, right?
It would have to be like Kassadin Lulu, I feel like. You're looking for early game sorcerers, right? We're not allowed to say, like, Karthus or whatever.
Yeah, and really, unless they massively buffed any... I mean, Morgana's okay, but again, I'm not dying to run her at rank 1.
think honestly that makes Kassadin even more valuable, and he was already insanely valuable as like a Sork frontline.
Yeah, it makes all the other sorcerers better, is one way to think about this new character coming in.
Well,
I'll be really interested to see how big a change it makes, because it is a large champion pool, so they're gonna release one more champion every now and then, right? And this is the first chance we get to see, like, how much does everything shift, or is it just something that doesn't actually come up as often as we maybe think?
Sure, and to kind of add to that, I know there has been a dev post saying that their intention is to have seasons with a rotating champion pool, or like a partially rotating champion pool, so that way it's not like in
sweet.
2 years from now there are, 100 champions and you can't get a rank 2 because you're not able to find the same champions. So that'll be nice.
I think the Magic the Gathering model for this, where you have different sets that you play and then a new set rotates in, is a really good approach to it. So I hope that they pull something like that off.
Yeah, me too. I don't know. I think luckily that's what they're planning. Let's see. Attack speed changes. We've changed all the champions' attack speed ratios so that attack speed bonuses are now calculated based on a percent of the champion's base attack speed. In short, champions with lower base attack speeds will receive less benefit from attack speed items. Certain champions and attack speed granting items have been adjusted in this patch to compensate.
I'm just gonna click on somebody's tweet where they do the math and explain what that means. I'm not gonna think about it until I see the tweet.
Yeah.
As a content creator, I'll just trust somebody else to do it.
In effect, in terms of... So, 2 comments on this from my perspective before I get it from Filthy. This is the first one, which is just me. This is describing a change that I basically thought that's how it already worked. So I was like, oh, okay, it's nice that this is coming along. I totally misunderstood how attack speed scaled in this game. And then second of all, I think it's just gonna mean more itemization of attack speed on attack speed characters, right? Characters that have high attack speed now are benefiting more than characters without high attack speed from this. So it just seems like a nice multiply, like the multiplier has a higher effect on those attack speed champions. That's the way I read it, at least, and I don't have the math for that, but I think that's the easy enough conclusion to draw from it.
yeah, I'm with you, Dolphin.
Conversely, less valuable on low attack speed champions.
I like learning about how the mechanics were already working by hearing what they changed. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good.
that was how it worked for me exactly here. Any thoughts, Filthy?
Just what I said. I think it will come up again a little bit later with another one of the heroes, but I'm like, I didn't understand that wasn't what was happening.
Yep.
And I still don't know what's happening. I don't know how the Ranger buff doubles things. I don't know how Ginsu's Rage Blade interacts with this. I don't know if attack speed is capped. Like, I'm just going along with it to some extent.
And to be totally clear, up till now, the number of bugged items and bugged interactions have been so high that I'm not fussing. This as the balance patches come out again and again and hit those things, and we're going to actually see these interactions, then I can start worrying about it when it's a little bit more of a concrete base to work on. But if there's so many things broken already, it doesn't make sense to be like, oh my god, the Ranger interaction with this item is insane, when they're going to fix that in 2 seconds time.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting to me too that there are bugs that are pretty gameplay impacting that they don't hotfix if they have a fix for them. Like some of the bug fixes going into this, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of would have maybe assumed those are going in immediately. But we'll get to the bug fixes a little bit later, I guess. There's a whole section for them.
Yeah, I get the impression that since it's going to be a weekly thing from now on, that probably the cycle on squashing bugs will be quicker. But for now, it just wasn't relevant because they were doing such a big one-time patch.
Yeah, totally fair. PvE rounds, there's some cool ones here. In the event that you do not get an item during a PvE round, one of the minions, monsters, or epic monsters will now drop gold instead.
Wait, you could get items off monsters?
Yeah, apparently.
Never happened to me.
I haven't even killed the dragon, let alone gotten a drop from it.
I think Dragon's item drop rate is like 10%. So I think that's exciting. I think I'm not in the crowd of folks who were like, oh, RNG, that's been awful. It's been so terrible having some asymmetry in matches, because I think as we play enough games, it's like sometimes you're going to benefit from it, sometimes you're not. Whether or not you get item drops is going to inform whether you're going for lost streak or win streak earlier, so there's a strategic component to it. So yeah, I'm fine with this change, but I'm also, I wasn't pulling out my hair before.
That's funny because I just had a game where my opponent hit like Warwick 3 on like round 2 or 3. It was insanely early and had 4 items that both built into 2 really powerful tier 2 like combined items. And I had 1 item and no guys at level 2. And I'm like, man, like I don't mind if the overall variance evens out in some sense of like that. You know, it's just variance, right? But I do mind that if there's massively impactful single game variants, especially if there's going to be a tournament format. So I really like the idea that they're doing something to offset the really huge downside of not picking up an early item.
Yeah, there's probably a sweet spot, and I think they're closer
moving
to it
towards
now than they were before the change, and I think that's...
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Jorbs, any thought on the item changes?
Looks fine. All the things you said, I agree with.
Cool. PvE rounds, Dragon and Elder Dragon no longer benefit from Dragon trait bonuses. All sorcery comps rejoice. Filthy first.
Yeah, good.
Good, yeah.
It seemed dumb that late game comms, everyone could wreck the dragon except sorcerer.
It was a little bit bothersome. It felt like a check. Because I get the idea that there can be gameplay mechanics in place to challenge certain team compositions, but it stuck out like a sore thumb as far as gameplay went. And most of the time it didn't matter, but the times where it mattered, it just felt like garbage.
Dolphin, have you skimmed the length of these notes?
A little bit, not in detail. I kind of was waiting for being able to talk to you two. Gotcha. Speaking of which, not to cut off your question, but I want to mention that I am on a call with FilthyRobot. Lovely professional interactive variety streamer who's currently playing TFT, and I'm also on with Jorbs, lovely professional interactive variety streamer who's also playing TFT. Get some links in chat for those. Other folks can also put links into.
Will you slowly be losing more letters out of your name, Jorbs, over time?
Jorbs, Jerbs,
J.
Jerbs,
So go follow these nerdlings. They're good dudes. Okay, but what were you gonna say? Because I kind of cut off that thought when you said, "Have you read through?"
No, I'm just. They're quite long.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely there's some stuff in there. Ranked pre-made restrictions. Don't think we care too much. Not something that we've done. Level breakpoints. XP to 9, 70 to 64. I like that.
Completely fine. Unexciting.
Yeah, I think it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Still don't think you're gonna be able to go to 9 for 6 gold cheaper. Who cares?
Yeah, it's like changing the temperature in your apartment half degree. It's like maybe you'll notice, but
I do appreciate that this is like incremental changes as opposed to huge sweeping changes. I appreciate that from a balance.
Yeah, definitely me as well. A lot of it's like, oh, this is an incremental change toward what I think is more sensible. Cool. That's how I'd like to see the game change.
Yep.
Ability targeting. Abilities that target low health champions now determine lowest health by HP percentage instead of total HP. What do we think this buffs? What do we think this nerfs?
So Lulu buff, because Lulu sometimes would just randomly fucking ult something stupid because it has really low max HP, and when it hit the target you actually cared about, which was your guy getting focus fired who was level 2. Happened all the time with level 1 units in Lulu for me.
Yeah, and Kale as well, for much the same reason, I think.
Do we think this is a ninja buff to Rengar?
Rengar is in the
this
game?
Actually might be
what
a
does
nerf
Rengar
to
do?
Rengar.
Rengar's one of those level 3s we couldn't think of that was totally garbage. Doesn't do it.
Yeah, he's so garbage we couldn't think of him for the list of garbage champions.
I mean, you play Warwick over Rengar to get Wild 4, okay? Like, that's all you need to say about it.
Okay,
I think anything that basically fixes the way the abilities should interact is good. What it's going to have to do with balance, I don't know. Probably not a whole lot, honestly.
Yeah. And to me, I think the way this worked before is fine. Again, this and the next change go into your category, Filthy, of like, I wasn't sure how this worked, so these changes are telling me not only how it works now, but how it used to work. And this is part of that, right?
I think for me, this is just the biggest issue I have with this is it's actually miscategorized. This should be in bug fixes.
I don't know, because I mean, for that gets into a whole conversation in terms of like what's a bug versus developer intent versus everything.
Yeah.
And we can continue that conversation into the next one. Shop. When you re-roll your shop after leveling up from round XP, the shop is re-rolled at your new level instead of your old level.
How is that not a bug fix?
It was intended before. They decided that, as ridiculous and totally nonsensical as it was before, it was intended, so it's not a bug fix. Welcome to the world of software development.
Seems good.
Yeah, seems fine. User interface, some good stuff here. Oh my lord. Streak indicator, which honestly is the thing I care almost least about. Added a combat recap so you can see how much damage each champion deals each round. Added champ stats on their pop-up inspect panel when you right-click. Jorbs.
All those are
Or filthy first.
All those are incredible. Although I immediately come to the issue that every person who's ever played an MMO wonders is why is there not also a healing?
Why is there not a healing? Is you cut off a little bit there at the end.
Why is there not a healing meter as well? Like a minute they say damage stats, that's great, but there's a couple heroes of this game that are actually doing healing effects. Lulu, Kaylee, or whatever her name is, a couple others like that, whose job is to prevent people from dying. That should immediately be on there as well, so we can see how effective that.
And maybe, I mean, you could even go further to say there should be a damage taken indicator. Again, if you're just going for kind of your bog standard, kind of old MMORPG stat indicators.
Probably with this game, there should be something like a total amount of time stun the opposing, like a Cho'Gath that hits six people in it all. Yeah. Like these would be stats we want to see, because it's going to be nice to see who our big damage dealers are, but it's going to miss a lot of the other interactions that are super important to the team.
Yeah, and I could understand the perspective from user experience, a user interface design, that they don't want to both overwhelm visually and just kind of play, like just in terms of play data, overwhelm the player. So I understand them not wanting to add 5 different types of recaps, because at a certain point it diminishes not only your interest but your understanding of the individual recaps. So if they only add 1 or 2 more, I wouldn't think they're dropping the ball on putting in, every single possible recap type.
Here's a pitch for a UI concept for this instead, because I think the way they did it with the UI is actually bad already, because it blocks the health of the players in the lobby. So if you need to work out, who took a bunch of damage, where am I on the carousel or whatever, you have to click out of this element and away from it, which is going to be a pain in the butt. I don't want to have to click this up. What if instead of doing any of this, they just do like a pop-up round MVP thing, and it says like Cho'Gath stunned 17 seconds worth of enemy time that round, or like Draven dealt 3.5k damage that round. It has some sort of understanding of which stats are important and what's impressive to do, and it pulls stuff out for you and gives you something like that, and actually like builds a narrative about your team as well that way, I think.
I hope they just do it, but they don't actually adjust it for Veigar. So it's always like, Veigar did 70,000 damage.
I would love to see it in terms of not the damage actually done, but the uncapped damage, like the overkill damage.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
I think they already have that, don't they? Like on Assassin 6, if Zed crits, it's like Zed dealt 7,000 damage to something with 600 health.
I would ask they maybe change that on a future patch, because that's kind of garbage. Like, don't get me wrong, it's information, or it's data, and it's good data, but it's not helpful information when it's, somebody's doing that much overdamage. Okay,
I guess as a consumer of gaming content like this, I want data. So like the more data I can get from this in the more accessible manner, the better. And I think the data lets me build comps or design comps is going to need to include things like stun and healing.
Sure. And I guess for me, coming from kind of a different background, still, gaming and everything, but having done some like web design, interface design, things like that, and I can totally understand why they're not trying to throw the kitchen sink at the player, even if some players might want the kitchen sink. Demons, traits, so let's get into some more stuff. Move down the line. Demon mana burn chance 40%, 60%, 80% to 25%, 50%, 85%. Demon 2 is weaker by a significant margin. That seems to me like the most important thing. As is Demon 4. And Demon 6 gets a slight buff. This feels like a Demon nerf.
I think actually with the new availability of level 1 Elite, it's actually a readjustment to deal with the fact there's a lot more demons being played.
Very good point.
I think it works really well. My understanding is that the items that have like disarm chance or silence chance have around about 25% chance to proc when you attack. So putting double demon in right now for 40% mana burn chance on each feels way stronger than it should. It feels like you're putting units in with like super items on them. The
mana burn is broken too, especially if like it decides the games because
Yeah.
you guys never get to ult.
And Cho'Gath and
Absolutely.
Sejuani, you sit in the front line, and if their ult goes off, you lose, and if it doesn't, you win. And so you're like just watching if they get mana burned or not, and that's what decides who wins the game. It's not very engaging. I don't think it's something that you want to be strong.
But I like the idea that so someone to get massive mana burn, they have to invest very heavily.
Yeah, I think Demon 4 with an Elise at level 1 now, at Demon 4 50%, because I don't know who's going for Demon 6. I couldn't tell you the 6 demons without having to really dig. And that's gonna be late. That's gonna be like going for Noble 6 in my opinion. I think it's gonna be a trap. Okay. Elementalist. Jorbs will be first on this one. Golem health, 3,000 to 2,500. Golem attack damage, 200 to 100. Daisy.
Yeah, completely reasonable.
Yeah.
Did they nerf Brand as well? I don't remember, but like the Golem is way too strong right now, and it's just too easy to put 3 Elementalists into almost any comp, and suddenly your Golem is your front line, and there you go.
Yeah,
Golem's
you've been
magic
house
immune
training,
too.
Daisy. Any thoughts there, Filthy? Do you feel like Elementalist has been too strong?
I actually think this is kind of a weird way to done it, because I already felt like Daisy did not do all that much damage and already was too tanky. And they've actually halved her damage, but only taken, what, a sixth of her health away? So I thought Elementalist was way too strong. I thought it was way, as George was saying, I agree with both those points, is way too versatile to get into everything. But it's a weird way to nerf it for me. I like I like nerfs for this. I like this isn't just like ridiculously done, but it's weird that they chose to go the damage route more than the HP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a much bigger significant change to the attack damage than the health, right? Percentage, it's one's cutting it by 6, the one's cutting it by half.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird tuning.
My thought on the attack damage, and I'm guessing here, but my thought is that a lot of rounds end with the Golem being the only thing left alive, and it's like against an enemy caster and they're hitting each other, and maybe the devs want to create a world where the caster wins instead of the Golem there, because the Golem winning feels sort of gross.
Yep. Guardian, so this one's interesting. Armor buff stacks up to 2 times is now going to stacks any number of times, is the way I'm reading this. So let me maybe set up an example first that we can discuss. So my understanding before is, let's say if you had your Leona and your Braum, you could put them, now that I'm finding this out, you could put them right next to each other, and the person that's kind of in their overlap Venn diagram style is going to be getting double the armor buff. I don't know how much that is. It's 80 each time, so that's 160. I think
but
that's...
now you can have 3 of each around that unit.
Well, no, you can even go more. You can buy 3 Braums, 2 Braums, 2 Leonas, and then just put them all around one unit.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're gonna have, so that's 320 armor. So let me get a calculator out here.
Throw a Thorn Mail on that sucker.
What you're telling me is this is a stealth void buff?
Can anything in the game beat Shyvana if it has like 500 armor and dragon buff? I don't know if anything in the game can kill that.
So it's 100.
And a Phantom Dancer, obviously.
Yeah. So just jump in here so we can do this calculation on the fly. So the armor formula in terms of the amount of damage you take is 100, or the percent amount of damage you take. So inverse to damage reduction is going to be 100 over the quantity, 100 plus armor. So it's going to be 100 over 420 is going to be the amount of damage you're taking.
Which I believe is 69.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Nice.
Repeating, of course. So you're going to be taking 23% of the amount of damage you usually be taking. Well, and then you have the armor that you have basic, so I'd have to compare those 2 values, so that's not exactly true, but yeah, the true value once you have that much armor is you have, you're basically taking 29% as much damage. But that's if you're stacking double Braum, double Leona, which is not going to happen, but it could.
I was gonna say, every time I've built Guardian thus far, it's felt like a trap. Like I've been disappointed with the outcome of it. It seemed to be very not impactful. So I'm really excited to see if maybe this does something now.
Yeah, usually you're taking, if you just have your base 20 armor, you have only 17% damage reduction. With the double Braum, double Leona, you have 76% damage reduction. That's pretty good. That's a lot of damage reduction. Just throwing that out there. People, we might be ahead of this meta with this groundbreaking discovery.
Genius. I actually think this is just a bug fix, like going back to what Filthy said earlier. Because if you ever put 2 Braums and a Leona in your team, you expected the armor buff to go 3 times. Like, everything in the game suggested that it would, and now we're finding out it only went 2 times. So hey, interesting. But I don't think this changes very much.
Oh, just you wait. You don't want to match up it with me when I have my double Braum, double Leona going on. Thornmail, never die. I'll have a single Lulu that's actually off the map, just healing everybody as we go on. Gunslinger, I'll have a Rek'Sai too. Gunslinger, improve visualization of Gunslinger AoE attacks. No way. Fix some bugs where Gunslinger extra attacks could fail to fire at high attack speeds. Extra units hit 1, all is now 1 to 2. So basically, before you hit 1 extra unit with Gunslinger 2, if you have Gunslinger 4, you'd hit all. Now you're hitting 1 or you're hitting 2 extra. So Filthy first, I guess, on this one. What's that?
Damn you, Dolphin.
Oh, I'll just take it first. So Gunslinger improved visualization. I've never... So the only time I really notice it working is if I have a Graves and he does a 180 and shoots the person behind him. So this definitely works. I feel like the issue before with the Gunslinger 4 was that the time it took to get all the shots off, you were giving up just a regular amount of attacks that you'd be shooting at somebody. So I think this is... I'm not even convinced this is a nerf if they've changed the animations and made it so that it's not giving up a bunch of time spent attacking your target. Because that's what would happen before. You'd attack the target and then it would move around taking extra time to shoot the other targets and you wouldn't be getting any extra damage on your existing target. So I'm hoping that's different now.
Alright, I can speak now. I just put food into my mouth. You changed up your order of like Jorbs and me, so I had anyways.
Oh, keeping you on your toes.
Gotcha, thanks. I tried to swallow it and burn my mouth. It feels good. I think for me, I tried Gunslinger 4 a couple times with Tristana and just couldn't actually see her doing like multi-shot stuff. It didn't seem to be actually much of a damage increase. So anything that actually improves that via visualization or just actually fixing bugs seems good. Because the Gunslinger seemed like another one of these trap synergies late game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they fixed Gunslinger bugs and then tried to rebalance it because they were way too strong after they fixed the bugs, and we'll see. I feel like this is an entirely new, fresh class in my mind. I don't feel like any of the things I used to know about Gunslingers matter anymore because now they are significantly different.
I'll take a step back with the question then. Did either of you ever build Gunslinger 2?
Early game.
2.
Gunslinger 2, would you ever just throw it in a composition? Because I would find early to mid game, just Gunslinger 2. Still, it felt like it worked, and it didn't feel like I was necessarily throwing away damage because I didn't have attack speed itemized so highly on my carries and things like that. We can move
definitely.
On. Yeah,
Pirates has Gunslinger 2 in it already right now, right? So that was definitely something that came up for me a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Pirates average gold per chest. 2 to 1.6. This is fascinating because it tells us very simply that it's not a uniform distribution for... It might be now, or it might have been before. I mean, it's very easy to just calc it. I'll get the calculator back out as you guys give me your intake or a take on this.
It used to be a uniform distribution on 2, 0 to 4, and now it's something else.
Yeah.
Well, they added another pirate, so presumably this is supposed to reflect that. It is funny that's an exact number of 1.6.
Yeah, you're right, because 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 divided by, or not, sorry, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 divided by 5 is 2. So yeah, it was uniform before, or maybe, you know, it could have been weighted weirdly towards 1s and 3s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way for us to know that it actually was uniform before. There could have been other weightings.
God, I wish the average was whatever, but the minimum was still 1. Getting fishbone or boot was like the worst fucking thing in the world.
Boot. I think getting the boot was hilarious.
Like, hey, I invested in this sweet synergy. 0 again. 0
Get
again.
a boot.
0
The
again.
boot. The boot.
The boot.
Yeah, if you get 2 boots, then you should get something.
Yeah, it should be an item.
It
should turn into a force of nature.
Agreed.
So anyways, Shapeshifter, Jorv's called this one. Shapeshifters now gain the correct amount of health when they transform. Previously, they would fail to take into account the health they gain from their star level. So to break this down for anybody tuning in and not really knowing how to read this, let's say you had a level 3 Elise and she got a form change. The amount of health she would gain as a result of that form change would be ranked or set to level 1. I'm not sure if that's just limited to their base transition being bugged, or if it was also for the Shapeshifter bonus. But essentially, if you had a rank 3 unit, they weren't getting any transformation bonus over being a rank 1 unit.
My misunderstanding how shapeshifters work, don't they get a maximum HP increase? Do they then scale up as a percentage of the maximum HP? It's not like they get a buff equal to whatever the transfer bonus would be. It's not like if Gnar would go from 1,000 to 2,000 health, she gains 1,000 health when she transforms if she's wounded. It's percentage based.
So my understanding, and I can't speak to the percentage necessarily, but my understanding is that they go from, and again, not talking about the bonus, but if they go from, let's say, untransformed Gnar to transformed Gnar, they gain max health, and the difference between their old max health and their current max health is the amount of health they're gaining.
Yeah, you just get plus 1,000 current
Yeah,
health.
so
and
let's
max
say
health.
Gnar gets
Wow,
1,000 health,
really
and now that's
misleading.
plus 1,000 max HP too.
Okay, that does answer a question. So I was
Cool.
misunderstanding how that worked. So another bug fix that changes how I understand the game. Excellent.
There you go.
Learning.
Wild buff. I love wild. Attack speed per stack, 7% to 8%. Thoughts?
Incremental changes are good.
Is that a buff or a nerf? Because they
Buff.
changed how attack speed works. I mean, it's obviously a buff, but are they overall buffed or nerfed?
Yeah,
With
that's a
the
good
attack
question.
speed
Like, is
change.
attack speed now just worse because of the change? So as an
And-
effect, yeah.
I don't know if that's a plus sign or a multiply sign on this one, right? Because they said what it is for recurve bow, but is everything a multiply sign now, or
God, I'd love
is
to
this
know
one
that.
a plus sign?
Yeah, does it add all the percent increases? Is it just doing the, percent multipliers with each other? No idea. We got to get 100 monkeys to just play this game and get the results.
With a recurve bow, is it a plus sign with a recurve bow or a multiply sign with a recurve bow? I don't know. It would be really sweet if all of the game mechanics, like all of the rules, were somewhere that you could read them.
Have
If
you
it were
ever-
possible for me to read the rules and recreate this without it being different, like there were enough rules for me to tell what was actually happening in the game, that would just be nice.
Have you ever played a game where you wish that more rules were more or less? I always want to have transparent rules so I can adapt to them.
Yeah, you want the information to be available somehow, even if it's not being thrown in your face. Which is why I think people will collect a bunch of red posts from Riot employees over time, trying to patch together an image of what it looks like, and hopefully it will be accurate, but even then I don't think I have 100% certainty. That's the nice thing, is if you look at something like Path of Exile, which I think is a fair comparison, because the math behind the bonuses and reductions there are it's so insane. But people have figured it out. People have just been able to take it by reading tooltips, seeing the damage changes. So hopefully we'll get something like that in this game eventually, where we have tools to figure it out on our own, even if they're not giving us the information themselves. Tier 1 champions, also Shapeshifter, somebody pointed out, transfer M health gain 100% is down to 60%. Just quickly, my take on this, it seems like maybe they're just doing this to account for the bug that was in place before, because now everybody's getting more health
Well, that's
as a result
also
of
a
the rank.
nerf to the tier 1 guys, though, then, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so Tier 1 champions, Darius, no longer cast ability at times when no enemies would be in range at start of cast.
Well, I mean, great. I'm glad that he doesn't spin uselessly. Have you ever seen him chase Lucian around where he can't hit ever and just spins all the time doing
But that's
nothing?
the
It's so
best part
frustrating.
of Lucian. This is a Lucian nerf, no!
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, versus Lucian, he probably still never gets to cast, right?
Yeah, fair. This is interesting, whatever. It's nothing huge. Slight buff to Darius. I guess you could put it in that category. Elise, this is probably, I think, one of the most interesting changes in the patch. Elise, cost down from 2 to 1. Spiderlings now benefit from the Demon Origin effect. Mana cost 75 to 100, so it takes longer to pop off. Number of Spiderlings is 2, 3, 4, so basically that's down at the first and second level, but the same at the last level. Sorry, rank. Health is down and armor is down. Health is only down 50. Keep that in mind. And armor is 25 to 20. So my first thoughts on this, it's hilarious how little health rank or Elise has at rarity 2. I think at 450 at rank 1 is totally fair, but she's still squishy as all hell. It's crazy to me how low health she has now and how low health she had before at Rarity 2. Doesn't help that her mana cost is going up. The fact that Spiderlings now benefit from the Demon Origin effect is crazy. That can put so much control on the field. Sorry, go ahead, Filthy, take it away.
Sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk you.
No, go. You take it. I was pretty much done.
I think it'd be hilarious if it's bugged too, and the Spiderlings count as individual demons. So she pops out like 3, and then it's like Demon 6.
There's always hope.
I had 2 Spiderlings.
Gets a name.
I had 2 Spiderlings on my bench last night. One of them was an ally Spiderling, and one of them was an enemy Spiderling, and I could deploy them in battles, and they would fight for my team and the enemy team respectively.
Wow.
I'm not sure how. I think nobody's ever played with Elise before, so they just haven't bothered to code her yet.
Is it like an Elise
so this will be an interesting patch.
I've never seen that.
No, just Elise 1. I gave her Redemption. That might have been why. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, there are a lot of odd components to that story.
Yeah, I think the big thing that happens here is that Elise stops ultimating before she dies as a 1-star unit, but she's going to be 2-star because she's a 1 cost. I think a lot of people are going to be playing 3-star Elises for a while, and it might even be pretty good. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's gonna... I would not be surprised if we saw a lot more people going for concentrated Demon 4 than before. I think I saw so much Demon 2 before, and I think now we're going to see a lot of Demon 4, and I think this is a big part of the reason why.
Yeah, how do you play around a shit ton of mana burn, by the way?
Vayne.
Yeah, there you go. There are champs
That's
that don't
it.
take mana.
Draven's actually the real answer, but yeah.
Kassadin safe.
Kassadin's
Actual answers,
always...
people that don't use it. So we got Kassadin's a good champion. Graves is okay. Vayne's great. Graves is fine, and Gunslinger might be a thing now, so that might be much more relevant. And then maybe I'd even argue somebody like Lucian, who has a great ult and everything, but is kind of just auto attacking with his ult anyways.
Yeah, like Anivia and Brand aren't gonna get mana burned by these either. You can have casters who are mana dependent as long as your front line is not mana dependent. It means that like Cho'Gath and Shyvana are way worse if they're getting mana burned.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's we can almost just think of this all as a nerf to some of the more ultimate intense front lines.
Cool.
This is the thing I'm second most excited for.
They changed Fiona's name to Fiora.
Yeah, Fiona has been changed to Fiora. Her attack speed is even higher now. So in case you didn't know...
Even better.
Yeah, is this a buff or nerf, by the way? Because I read that initially, I'm like, wait, is this attacks per second?
Yes, this is a buff. This is
one attack per second.
So to give you something to work with, Kale has the highest base attack speed at 1.1. So just if you can remember that hers is the highest at 1.1 and everybody else's is below her, that might give you a frame of reference.
Yeah.
But I am excited for this. This could be the change Fiora needs. The main issue is the fact that you're not really using her for Blade Masters, and you're not going for Noble 6 in normal game.
She got a 50%, roughly a 50% speed increase on attacks, so 50% more attacks per time. And then her damage, if I'm reading this correctly, her damage was whatever, 175, and now it's 250.
Yeah, basically the way to read this is, so she's doing the exact same damage at rank 1, and now at highest rank, and presumably, rank 3 and rank 2, she's doing more
That's
damage.
1 to 3, I see. Should there be 3 numbers there then?
There should be, and it's a little bit...
I'm really confused.
Yeah, but is I think because I don't think there's a damage range in this game. I think it just hits for an amount. I don't think there's a random effect. So I think this is saying they're just leaving out the middle amount, which I couldn't give you a reason why.
What you're telling me then is never make Fiora 2 because she does no damage.
Yeah, that's correct.
No,
actually,
she
gets deleted from the game.
She's
getting Fiora 3. Yeah. She does her ult, but she never pops back in.
Graves, I mean, that's kind of what she did already.
Yeah, fair enough. Graves held 500, 450, and Graves was too strong, question mark?
I thought Graves was pretty good as he was, and he was tanky. So I'll be interested. There's some changes later that impact this, I think. The Gunslinger's got buffed, so Graves got indirectly buffed from that. And I think some of the item changes help Graves a little bit too, although I'm not entirely certain about that. So we'll see.
Jorbs?
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
It's again, it's such a small change that I'm happy with it. Like, I don't even care if it's good or bad at this point because it's small enough that we'll find the effects out without having to ruin the game.
We can't say for sure based on the formatting of this whether that means that Graves at 1 star has 500 health and now has 450, or maybe it's saying that Graves at 3 star now gets 450, but at 1 star he has 500. Like, it could mean anything. We don't
it
even
actually
know what
means
this means.
that he's 450 at every level from there.
Maybe
on.
what they've
what
done
is the
is
2 star Graves at? Like,
no, this is
who knows?
for missing health. Or her missing damage right here. 500 to 450 is what she does it to. It's just been mislabeled and put in the second one down here.
Yeah, there you go. They'll put out patch notes for the patch notes. Vayne attack speed, another very basic change. Weird to see a buff on Vayne. I have to imagine, to kind of borrow what Filthy's insight was, I think this is maybe kind of another context thing for Gunslingers, is just being like, hey, Gunslingers might be better now, if that's an assumption we can maybe think of.
Isn't Vayne the ranger that's not a gunslinger?
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is they might be trying to make rangers a little better to help compete with gunslingers if gunslingers are getting better.
We also changed how attack speed works, so this is maybe trying to get her back up to where she needs to be with attack speed changes.
That's a good point. This is a change that might make it more worth itemizing her still.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Warwick, ability now applies on hit effects. That's fun.
Good. I think it's I think he was okay hero who was kind of dropped off sharply late game. I think this is good. And I think this is really important just for the health of the game, I think, to make things that need to make sense. And this is one of them. Like that the spatula item that made a bow and the bow like split the attacks or like gave you extra split attacks or something. Every time I ever had the option to make that, chat would be like, make it. It's so good on Ashe for Glacial. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it doesn't apply rider effects. So it's nice that they're now like making this reasonable in the sense that things that ought to apply rider effects, like multi-attacking for a minute, are now doing that.
Can you spoil for me if in the items Runins applies on hit effects as well?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. No, that's nice to have some consistency there. So how do we take advantage? What are we doing to take advantage of this, Jorbs? Is there an itemization? Is there something that we care about?
You want to put items on Warwick? I don't think we're ever putting items on Warwick.
And that doesn't change with this. We're not thinking Titanic Hydra. We're not thinking...
I would fire back that oftentimes with characters that I'm using, that I get to level 2 in the early game, but I'm not actually planning on building comps around particularly, especially level 1. Yeah, so I'll put an item on it and then I sell him because I'm not using him and he sells for full price and I get the item back for something else. So I could invest earlier to fight an earlier battle with him.
Yeah.
I don't know what on-hit effect item there is that you build early that you want in a late game comp though.
The thing in red buff to me is not that enemy, like, because there's red buff, right?
Yeah, but you put that on Graves, not Warwick, early, right? It doesn't go on Warwick.
I agree.
In the start of the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I had a really sick game today with red buff Vayne, which I wasn't super excited about. It just turned out that there's a lot of healing effects. I had it from the get-go. They just carried me through the very early game because of Nidalee, there's just a bunch of early game healing effects that happen.
But yeah, there's quite a few.
But
so
you
I mean,
could put it on
helping.
Graves. Filthy.
Didn't have a Graves, but I had the crap items. But yeah, I hear you. There's a better target for red buff than that.
And I would agree with Warwick. And luckily, Chat tried to cut off a little bit. Chat is throwing out some really good examples of other things that would apply on hit effects. So Statikk Shiv, and I can't tell you how many times Warwick is hitting his ultimate. But Statikk Shiv.
There you go.
Already mentioned Titanic Hydra. Somebody, as Filthy was saying a second ago, there's Runins as well. So Runins would be proccing every time.
Okay,
so yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Work or not.
And just to kind of frame what you were saying, Filthy, maybe to put it in a context for some of the viewers or people listening, like we frequently do with carries, right? You get a tier 1 carry, you itemize the crap out of it, you're now level 6, you're saying, why the hell do I have a tier 1 carry fully itemized? You sell it, you put it all on Draven. I think this is something we'll see potentially with Warwick, but I think the thing about that example is you're usually putting your items on the carry. You're not usually itemizing your tanks to the same extent that you are your, rangers, your gunslingers, your sorks. So I think there's a little bit of truth to what both of you are saying in terms of the benefits of item switching.
If it only hits 3 times, if his ultimate only hits 3 times, I don't think this does anything. I think if it hits like above 7 times,
I think it hits 5 times. I'm trying to listen to it in my head. It's like
Oh, you think
you
the
just
sound effects
have a
applies
in your head?
That's the noise it makes. It goes, choo, 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 choo.
There
So
are-
it's
Oh
a
my
1, 2,
God.
3, 4, 5.
Thinking about it,
That's incredible.
there's a ton of on-hit effects that actually are there, right? So there's 2 life leeches. There's a disarm. There's a silence. None of these I ever used, but presumably re-itemize or balance might
Does
actually make
it
this true.
better if you disarm something that you're suppressing with a Warwick ult, though? Like,
It depends how long
Not
the
a
disarm
ton.
lasts compared to the Warwick ult, I guess.
Can you imagine
Anyways.
if Warwick with a Shojin, how stupid that would be?
just
Yeah, right.
ultimate,
That's
ultimate,
true, too.
ultimate.
That would be so silly if you could put like triple Shojin on him and he just constantly ulted.
I wonder how that works because, or like Swain, who like would be the other one you think Shojin would be okay on. He doesn't actually. I'm pretty sure he doesn't start gathering.
There
mana
are
until
tons
ult
of
ends.
champions that while they have their ultimate or their ability active, they don't gain any mana. It's kind of like
There's
attack, I
usually
imagine.
at least a 1 second grace period after your ultimate before you can start getting more as well, even if your ultimate's instantaneous. Like Kayle can't get ultimate
that's
again
really cool,
until
'cause
a
Kayle
second
has
after or
that.
something.
Instant attack speed nearly.
Yeah.
Alright, tier 2 champions. Ahri fixed a bug where Ahri's ability wouldn't deal damage while she was dead. I hope they put that bug onto Pyke's ultimate so that it no longer works when he dies. Now retargets her ability if the target dies during the cast time. Ability targeting random enemy current attack target.
That one's interesting too. I
Jorbs
never
has
realized
some-
it was a random
go ahead.
enemy.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead, Filthy.
Yeah, I never realized it was a random enemy. I knew she sometimes fired it at the stupidest locations, and sometimes when the people were. So anything that improves it, where my heroes are not finally getting their ultimate off at a critical moment, and then choose to shoot it randomly into a blank wall, is something that I think a fan of overall.
Jorbs?
Yeah. There are a lot of changes to targeting in this patch, and it's hard for me to say whether I like them or not because I haven't played with them yet. Intuitively, for me, I feel like a lot of the champions want to be targeting the furthest enemy within their range. If I was going to make a very simple rule to maximize damage on these abilities, I would target the furthest enemy within range with them.
Wouldn't you
I
go
don't
one
know
step further,
what
though?
this is like.
You go instead of random enemy or current attack target or furthest enemy in range. Wouldn't you go most numbers in range or something? Most enemies in
Well,
range. Is the
yeah, you
target?
could just make them actually, maximize the damage on their ability, but that would make too much sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
didn't realize
but
there was a
I
cap.
think we can pick apart some logic from this in terms of I would say current attack target is usually the closest target. I think that's how the AI works. It'll just attack whatever target is closest if you're either frontline or backline. So it's interesting to me because it means she's not going to be targeting backline units like she might have before. If they're all clumped up by hitting random enemies, she might have targeted somebody in the back. So I can't help but feel like this might actually be kind of a nerf.
Actually,
I feel like
as
it's a
I
little
think
bit of a
about
nerf
it, yeah.
and a buff because it's buff because like you're doing concentrated damage, and concentrated damage is important for nuking down targets before they can do their own damage.
I wonder what the targeting is too. Is it the start of her ability or the end? And that matters, right? Because if like before she would randomly fire, let's say there's like I'm thinking of like the 7 deep square, like circle with filled in, right? The hexagon filled in. She would normally choose one of those at random and fire it, and it goes past the point she targets to where it hit like a line and hit past beyond that. That would actually, and then, or if the
I think it will still continue. I don't think you're going to see little
distance.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see little baby Ahri ults where she just tosses it like to one tile. I think even if she's targeting the closest person to her or current attack target or whatever, it's still going to travel past them.
Gotcha.
Okay, Blitzcrank fixed a bug where Blitz could hook a unit off the board if he died while casting. I've seen that. Is that the thing where you just see giant lightning like shoot across the screen sometimes?
Say yes.
Is that just in my head? Okay.
I haven't seen that one, so I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna edit that
What
part out
sound does
later.
your head Warwick make when that happens?
Nearby
It's
allies are
X6.
now more likely to target the unit Blitzcrank pulls. Everybody's glad to hear
Thank
that.
God. Like that. I think Blitz is super strong, and now that's going to show just how ridiculously strong he is with that.
Can I share a Blitzcrank story?
Yeah, go for it.
It's just my favorite story, I think. So I played this game with a guy who was clearly going for Blitzcrank 3 right from the start. I played him and he had 7 Blitzcranks and 2 of them were in and stuff. And It was very exciting to watch this Blitzcrank grow up, and he was like hooking my carries and killing them. I was like, oh no, blah, blah, blah. And then he'd like hook another 3 times in the fight because he was itemized too. And my opponent finally gets to Blitzcrank 3, and what happens is Blitzcrank hooks my carry, kills it outright, has nothing to punch to get mana back again, is a melee champion, so he can't walk to anything. And he just stood there for the rest of the fight, and then I knocked my opponent out. So
What you're saying is RFC Blitz ASAP.
RFC Blitz, I think. It was just a beautiful moment.
Yeah, I'll have to see how this works out because it is annoying. His targeting is both annoying and good, right? Like it's good that like you can't really play around his targeting because it always targets the same location, but then at the same time you can't play into that, right? Or play against that. So it's annoying that you know how Zephyr, like it's a dance, right? You place your guy in a position and they move their guy in the response to that position when they know they're coming into a fight with you, and you try to do it again until you hit something useful with Zephyr. Blitz is less like that, right? Blitz always just picks the target that's farthest away. There's a limit to where that is. Like, if you don't place the carries that you care about in the corners, and you instead place some unit you're happy to have hooked in the corner, Blitz always pulls that. So I don't know if I like that element of him. So we'll see if this makes it any better with because this is going to be an increased power, right? He's going to pull something, and the team's going to focus.
He's better now, hypothetically.
Yeah. So we have to see how that actually plays out. Because I think he was pretty strong already.
So what it sounds like, just to kind of reword what you're saying, it almost sounds like you'd be interested long term maybe to see a change to Blitzcrank where he pulls somebody opposite board maybe instead of just the farthest.
Yeah, because right now, like, yeah, I catch the Draven, and it's amazing the first time, and the second time the opponent matches into me with that, he moves his Draven either one tile over and puts something he wants hooked there, or he moves to the center of the board where, because of the way diagonals work, I can never get that to be the max distance. So he can dodge Blitz entirely by moving around just like once.
Sure. That'd be interesting
Assassins work the same way, is my understanding.
Zephyr sorry, did you say is Zephyr working the same way?
No, assassins work the same way.
Assassins
is my understanding.
Correct.
So I've had situations where, like, you can get 6 assassins to jump on one unit in one corner of your board with the entire rest of your team somewhere else, and they just, like, stand there looking at the unit. I think that targeting should probably change or improve or something like that. I don't think it's great right now.
Yeah, Assassin 6 has always been a trap comp for exactly that reason. There's too much dead time with melees that jump that can be baited into jumping to stupid look.
Yeah, they just kind of hang out. Braum, fix Braum's tooltip to properly reflect that his shield reduces a percentage of all incoming damage. So did it just miss a percent sign before?
I learned that via reading these notes. I had no idea that's what Braum's...
Yeah, Braum's ult does something.
I actually assumed it didn't. I assumed it did nothing for magic damage.
Damage reduction, 60%, 90% to 70%, 90%. I think this is another thing where the middle value is not appearing. They're not showing the middle value that should be there. But it looks like
it's not intuitive too. I hope it doesn't go like 70, 80, 90. I hope it's like 70, 71.
Mana cost goes to 50, so that's a buff. Ability targeting nearest enemy to furthest enemy. That's interesting. I didn't realize he targeted his ability.
He's got to put it on. It's only of the 6 tiles, the 6 sides of the hexagon. He only takes one of those sides. So,
okay.
So how does that even target if it's like halfway in between? I don't know.
Question. But I think in theory that means he's supposed to be a frontline tank shielding the rest of your team, right? Because that's what this means. It's not about him protecting himself from like whoever's attacking him in that moment, which maybe it should be. It's about like he's gonna protect himself from like the Aurelian Soul ult coming down the line or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for it. It's just kind of funny because, again, it's going to be a little hard to tell. I guess, so the way to think about it for me is I can't always be sure which of the 6 sides of the hexagon it's going to go on, but with this targeting, or with this logic, it's going to block the farthest person, right? Like, it's not that stupid where it's going to put it on the wrong side to block the right thing that it's trying to. So
I don't know, man. Like Pyke's gonna jump off to like one side, like jumping on. You're gonna run like Blitz and Braum. He's gonna like jump over there, and then like Braum's gonna be shielding from the Pyke from behind. I don't know. We'll see.
I think he was doing that a lot before.
She's
I think there was nothing stopping that.
Exactly. I hope he yells that too. Just like I wish they troll code sometimes.
I think this is one of the most complicated changes to judge as players of the game right now because damage reduction is such a weird thing to understand, and mitigating incoming abilities is such a weird thing to understand because there are so many different abilities. And we're at a point where we can be like, oh yeah, this blocks Aurelian's soul ult to some extent, but
Also, how does
I
that
just
work
think it's
with
really
like
a
Brand's
tough one
ult?
to understand.
Is Brand's ult doing damage from Brand, or does the direction the projectile moves from actually doing damage?
You flip a coin when it goes off to see if the game crashes or not, and go from there.
Yeah, you lose because you're playing Braum and your opponent's playing Brand.
That's fair.
I mean, that's what it is right now.
Yeah.
Lucian, Relentless Pursuit, second shot damage, 65, 150, 235 to 150, 250, 350. So this is a buff.
That is literally the second shot of his ult, or his ult is called second shot.
That's the second shot of his ultimate.
The
The
second
ultimate
shot
is
of his
called
ultimate,
Relentless
yeah.
Pursuit.
Okay.
Relentless Pursuit is an ability that Lucian uses to dash away from.
Yeah,
the thing
and
he's
shoot
shooting
twice,
at.
right? Once physical and once magic or something.
That's my understanding. That's how I'd explain it, yeah. Also, I'm curious, why didn't they use the crappy format of saying go from 65-235 to 150-350? Why didn't they leave the middle value a mystery for us like they did with the other champions?
I think it's like a Sudoku. We get enough information throughout the patch notes to put them all together, but we only get it in certain places.
Yeah. Lucian does twice as much damage as Vayne, but Vayne's attack speed is half of Draven's.
Yeah.
If Draven and Lucian do a combined damage of 200, what is Vayne's damage?
Brown thing. Like the Braum's direction is like a compass, right? It's like a cardinal points with a couple extras in there, but it's on a hexagon.
Yeah.
To translate, you can see this.
This is actually taken from the True Detective Season 1 script. Pyke, mana cost 100 to 125, starting mana 50 to 75. So essentially it's going to take longer for the second ult and any ult after that to go off. The first ult is not going to take any longer to go off.
Is it 25 mana a hit? Is that the standard? What is the actual standard increase mana
I think
per hit?
10 is the standard. You get 10 for autos, and you get a weird amount for being hit by damage.
Really?
Huh.
Okay. There you go.
Akali, or whatever her name is, the assassin, the ninja assassin, what's her total mana pool? Like 50?
It's like 40 or 50. It's one of the lower in the games.
And she nukes naturally every second attack, right?
You might need Seraphs on her to nuke every other attack. Oh, it's 25. Akali is 25 mana.
So it's every second or third attack, depending on if she's taking damage too. I guess is how that would work.
Yeah, so I guess when I see starting mana, it's not actually a very useful attribute as a player to look. That doesn't really tell me anything. That looks like it, because what I actually want to know is like hits to cast, really.
So let's. I have some information from chat that might be helpful, if assuming it's accurate. Dangerous assumption. Drunk Angel says rank 1 units get 7 per attack. Rank 2 get and 3 get 10 per auto. So essentially, it's either 7 or 10.
Weird.
That's interesting. I was watching my 1-star. Well, was it a 2-star Garen? Maybe it was a 2-star Garen I was watching that was getting 10.
Cool. I think Pyke needed a nerf. I think he's super strong. I'm not sure that assassins needed a nerf, but maybe they do, and I'm just not very good at assassins.
I think assassins got probably a buff with Akali working now. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know.
Except Akali got nerfed because, well, do they change Ludens?
We'll see.
God, I hope. Rek'Sai, yes. Burrow duration is down half a second, which is fine. I don't think any benefit to being burrowed, at least not for an extended duration. Knockup duration 1.25 to basically a second and a quarter to a second and 3/4. Damage 150. Oh, it's another mystery increase. Another 150 to 250. Now 150 to 350. So I want to comment on this as somebody who has a joy of creating draws with Rek'Sai. Gonna be a lot harder to get those draws with that reduced burrow duration, so that's a nerf to hard draw Rek'Sai strats, but overall, this would be a nice buff to brawlers. I mean, that is an extra half second of CC on potentially a carry. That's a lot of damage prevented. And that is going to be a much stronger, maybe rank 2 Rek'Sai, depending on how the damage scales. So I would like to see some brawlers with Rek'Sai.
40% of the words you just said were in a different language.
Oh, really?
Carry Rek'Sai. There are brawler synergies in this game. Like,
Yeah.
no, brawlers are okay. Yeah, I haven't made Rek'Sai work yet, but I think you're right that this is a reasonable buff to a champion that fits into some synergies and is sort of okay. Carry Rek'Sai. What does that mean? Can you elaborate?
No, what I meant to say is Rek'Sai can target the carry, and by putting an extra half second of CC on their carry,
hitting the carry.
Yeah, no. Deep misunderstanding there between who's doing the carrying.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Well, I got a question about this. What does it take? How long does a unit wait before it retargets? It's like the first attack it can't hit, it then retargets. Is there any possible way reducing the burrow duration from 1.5 to 1 means that some units attack slow enough that they don't actually retarget off Rek'Sai? Because Rek'Sai is only vulnerable to attacks for like such a short duration that it's in between their auto attacks.
Possibly. There are units who attack like 0.7 times per second, so if the autos went off at the right time, that could happen, I think.
So that's just interesting for me. And then, can Rek'Sai's ult ever hit more than one person? Never seen it hit
I
more
don't
than
think
one
it
person.
can.
Can it? Wait, it hits things? I don't.
It
think
can also
hit more
can
than
hit
one
somewhere
person
between
now.
0 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
Depends
go.
which way Braum's shield is facing, huh? Okay.
Shen. Starting mana 50 to 100. So Shen buff.
I think
No.
that's huge.
That's a nerf.
No. That's how
Oh.
much mana Shen starts with.
Because
out
it
of
takes
the total
150
mana.
to ult, right?
Oh, I see. Okay. But that was his total mana pool. I actually cracked up for like 30 seconds reading because I thought it was a Shen nerf.
No. This is actually like really big because how
Yeah.
Ninja Elementalist Assassin works is your Shen puts up a shield that stops taking damage while your other units kill them in the backline, and your Kennen gets his ult off and stuff. And now all of a sudden that goes off way faster. Like tier on Shen was already pretty good in that comp to get the shield going faster, and it's like putting 2 tiers on him, 2.5 tiers on him. Like that's I think that is a very significant buff.
Yeah, I think
Good,
this is a
'cause-
big enough Shen buff to make this a pretty big Blade Master buff.
Yeah, I might hose him down, remove all the shit that's been flung at him for the last 100 games I played. So
It might take some time. His ult might actually help with that too. Or make it harder, I'm not sure. But I guess one thing to think about, there's no other Blade Master ninjas, right? It's not like where you run into the Zed Akali thing, where you have to kind of make a pick on your ninja. Which is not like that hard of a pick, but you get what I'm saying. So it's kind of nice that Blade Masters now just has maybe a reasonable rank 2 unit. So that once you get to 3, it's not that hard to get Blade Master 3. I could see this being kind of a meta changer for Blade Master.
Yeah, Fiora got buffed too.
There you go.
I don't
I'm
know
in
if
there.
she got
Noble
buffed
Blade
enough,
Masters.
but yeah.
Okay.
it was incredible how bad she was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I stopped taking pairs of Fioras. Like, I would just not take them.
Yep.
Yeah, wait for Lucian if you're going to do Noble 3. Aatrox, mana cost is, so this is a buff to Aatrox, again with some mystery digits. Good. This is where they're changing every level too, but they're not giving us the middle digit. It'd be too exciting. 175 damage, 350 to 850, 400 to 1000.
Yeah, this would be confusing, right? So scroll just up a little bit to have them both on the screen here. Right? Mana cost 100 to 75.
Yeah, starting mana versus mana cost.
Oh, I see. It's a okay.
Yeah,
They labeled it differently.
that's how they get you.
And mana cost means how much total mana you have in your pool, because your ability goes off when you hit total mana.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah.
So I'm just curious, who does 1,000 damage? That seems like a lot of damage. I don't know. I'd be curious to see Draven's values and compare them.
Karth is whatever it is.
Aatrox doesn't have multipliers for that though, because he's a demon blade master. So
Blade
he
Master's
doesn't
a
have
multiplier.
a way to. Yeah, but that's his. Oh, is that not his ultimate? Is that just his auto attack?
That's just his auto
I'm
attack.
so confused.
Yeah, this is
No,
auto
okay.
attack.
That's his auto attack damage.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
It's confusing
No.
because it. Okay, fair.
You don't think so, Filthy?
No,
his
I see
auto
why
attack
you think
damage
that
is
because it's
1K.
right below mana cost. So So this has to be his ult because it's this much damage. Yeah, I'm with you now. I was confused because it doesn't say ultimate damage, it just says damage.
It could be anything. Imagine standardizing this or giving us all of the information somewhere.
That would be crazy.
Why don't they just have a spreadsheet with all of these numbers in it and they like highlight which ones changed?
I don't know. I haven't worked with Riot Games before. This is my first encounter with them, really, and I gotta say, I'm actually very impressed with these patch notes. As patch notes. So yes, there's definitely some stuff missing, but I'm pretty pleased with it overall.
Yeah, at least the info's there. It's not gameplay changes. I
like that it lets me theorycraft because it could be one of any 6 values, and then I can plug it in, and like it makes totally different outcomes.
It's free content for us to test.
Yeah.
Evelyn buff, health 550 to 600. Her ultimate threshold 50% HP to 65% HP. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Did her ultimate trigger
when she attacks a target with her ultimate, if the target is at low HP, which I don't think was ever specified in the tooltip what that was, it just said low HP, so now I know that it was 50%. If the target is below 50%, now 65%, the ultimate deals more damage by the multiplier below.
Okay.
Is what that means.
That makes sense.
Now it's much easier for her to hit that then. 65%. Okay.
Yeah.
And they've buffed that to be now higher at the rank 2 and rank 3 for the execute damage multiplier. Eve's ability now roots targets during the cast time. 0.35 seconds to prevent them from moving out of the area of effect. Oh, that's nice. So she's not gonna, kind of like a Darius thing, just quality of life. She's not missing her ults right now. Or anymore. Cool.
So it actually adds a half-second stun to her, though.
Well, I don't know if this is balanced so that the target just always dies, in which case the stun doesn't matter that much because the target's dead. Or if this is in a situation where, like, if you do this to a tier 2 Draven, sometimes he just has 10% health left at the end.
I think that's how I take it. I think if they wanted to go the Veigar route, they would have gone the Veigar route of auto killing.
It is called execute.
It is called execute.
Yeah, so it's mixed messages.
And Lucian's dash is called relentless pursuit, so this could be a heal for all we know from the name of the ability.
Evelyn's burrow duration has been extended by half a second.
All right. Ready to move on.
Yeah, also the one thing I'll say about this is demon buff. If Evelyn is now playable and feels satisfying, this is another demon that is going to help hit Demon 4 much more regularly.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's going to be hitting carries, so throwing that out there. Gangplank ability now applies on-hit effects. Fix the number of bugs with animations in barrel chains. Attack speed has been increased. Health has been increased. Jorbs.
I think Gangplank was already pretty sweet. The trick was he couldn't get his ultimate off, and we just buffed the attack speed and the health. So I think, like, 1-star Gangplank for 3 gold in Pirates is going to be regularly getting ultimates off now, with even maybe just a tiny bit of help, so that's going to make Pirate 3 better. I don't think you build Gangplank as late game carry or anything, but I'm generally pretty pleased with what this does. I think he's like an okay piece.
I think he has a spot in my Rek'Sai Gangplank carry team now.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's
he's
a big
Blade
buff
Master
to Blade
with
Master.
Shen, yeah.
I think it's a buff to Blade Master, because again, Shen buff, Gangplank buff, Fiora buff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is Gunslingers
and fixing all the rider stuff, right? Isn't Blade Master a multi-attack?
Yep, you hit an additional time, correct?
Yeah. So
does that mean the barrels can go twice? How do you blow up the barrels twice?
I don't think attacking multiple times is an on-hit effect. I think those are the ability to hit multiple times and an on-hit effect. I think are separate categories.
Right, but I'm pretty sure now. Yes, okay. But my point being that if Blade Master gets a buff, items that rely on attacks to provide some, like the silence effects or the disarm effects, are going to get better because Blade Masters are going to be around to use them, and they're going to trigger them more often.
Yep, absolutely.
If you can get Blade Master 3 going, actually, those items start getting exciting. Like, it used to be you could only build them on, like, Gunslinger 4 or something like that, because that was the only place that you really got to hit a lot of things a lot of times. But if Blade Master 3 is a common splash, then all of a sudden you can maybe justify building that in the early game, which is cool. And then you're like actually have potential to do different things with it late game.
Yeah, I really like the idea that the items might change. The itemization is going to change because of these balance changes.
Katarina fixed a bug where her ability wasn't properly preventing enemy healing. Katarina has an ability?
Do it. Yeah, I also didn't know that. Her like spin heals, like prevents healing.
Yeah.
I knew
she
it
was
killed
dancing.
everything. It was only cast on alternate leap years.
Yeah. I think we can all agree they could have not included this and nobody would have noticed anything. Kennen, damage, again, mysterious number change. Wait, what is this? Okay, ultimate... I thought I was freaking out for a second. Okay, damage and attack damage. So this means the ult. We're all on the same page now.
No, attack damage doesn't. Damage
But
does.
which rank is the attack damage?
Oh, it's only provided.
Just
It's 3 ranks, but they provide 2 of them. I assume
Which
that's
rank
all
is
the
this
way
attack
across?
damage for?
Is attack damage,
Yes, it increases from rank to rank. It does go up, yes.
does it always increase by a set percentage or something? Is that why they're not bothering to tell us
Oh,
what is it, 2 and 3?
I like how we're now figuring out why they're not giving us information.
Remember chat said they gain 7 mana a hit on level 1 and then 10 mana a hit on level 2 and 3. Maybe the 2 and 3 don't change their damage.
They do get more damage, but I don't know if it's a percentage, as Jorbs and chat are suggesting. So, like, if I had to guess, this is a rank 1 buff, and I'm not sure what that means for rank 2 and rank 3. It probably means increases for them, too.
It's a significant buff to Kennen. Kennen does some
yeah.
pretty good damage. And with Shen being better too, like Kennen Shen is like so iconic as a frontline sort of duo. Shen gets the ult off to make things survive. Kennen gets his ultimate off a little bit later, deals a ton of damage and stun stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I can just see that working very well with the other 2 ninjas and stuff at the moment.
I think the damage increase is pretty sizable, too. That's 100 more damage at first rank. And then I imagine an even more impressive thing, because it scales up even higher percentage-wise at the highest level. So I have to imagine it's still going to be pretty impressive at rank 2, which is what everybody's going to be running Kennen at.
Yeah, exactly. It's 650, and it used to be 480?
No,
480?
it's 300 to
660?
660, now 400.
Yeah, but what's halfway between those? 480?
Oh,
So it's 480 to 650, which is another 170 damage.
yeah.
Maybe, although why would you expect it to scale linearly, since the difference between level 1 and level 2 is only 3, and the difference between level 3 and level 6 is level 2 and level 3 is 6. It's twice as hard to go from.
I like that nobody has ever run a Kennen 3, and nobody ever keeps Kennen 1 around. So the only Kennen that we care about is the one that doesn't have numbers for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Passionate.
Yep. Morgana, no longer cast her ability at times when no enemies would be in range at start of cast. Nice.
No, not nice. Because starting the cast is not useful. It's ending the cast we care about. This might actually be worse. If she normally starts the cast and then runs towards stuff. Oh, it might make it.
I think this is a buff. I think this is good.
I don't know. Like, I'm thinking like Karthus, because he had the same change, right? So now, like, if he used to like just start casting and then he wasn't actually in range, but he moves in and then nukes the entire team because his ult has like infinite range, and Morgana's doing the same thing, it might not actually be a.
I think the only time Morgana ever starts ulting without being in range is if something with 4 attack range hits her when she's 3 tiles away from and is about to make her ability doesn't. That's the only time I've ever seen this happen, because she has a 3-tile attack range and her ultimate has 3-tile range. So the only time it happens is a time that's really bad for Morgana. I think it's a buff.
Yeah, I think it's a buff too. I also don't know if she loses her chain if somebody moves out of range of her. Like, let's say she casts it on somebody 3 tiles away. She does?
She does.
Okay.
Does she actually have 2? I think she actually has 2 range on both. I set the wrong number. So if things attack from 3 or 4 tiles away, she can sometimes ult nothing.
My sense is they're trying to buff her based on what they said at the top of the article, or top of the notes, which is make rank 3s a little bit better.
Funny, I thought she was one of the decent rank 3s, and she's a demon.
Yeah. I think they're
Maybe
also trying to make
strong
Demon
now.
4 more palatable. So this, Elise, Evelyn, I think they might be trying to buff them.
Sure. This Poppy character, this is a new one, huh?
Yeah, Poppy's being introduced to the game. Armor goes from 30 to 40, which is higher than most units have. I think most units have 20. I'm not sure if that's just a night thing or whatever. Stun duration is now up at all levels by half a second. And number of targets hit is now going to
really
scale for at higher ranks. That's crazy to me. I think Yordles are getting kind of a buff. It feels like most things in this game with this patch are getting stronger, not weaker. I feel like they're kind of just touching up the things that felt weaker before. And this is an example of that, but it's weird because it's a Yordle, and Yordles didn't feel particularly weak to me before. So that's my take on this.
Knights 4 as well is somewhere I expect this to do things. Knights 2 is like a pretty insignificant buff, and it falls off very rapidly in mid-game. But if you can get Knights 4, it can be really good against some comps. And if Poppy's a reasonable Knight, you sort of can now.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be nice, because I've never seen Knights do anything right now.
Same. I feel like every time I'm focusing on Knights, I'm making a mistake. But I think it's one of those things where anybody in their right mind can't go Knight 6 and still expect to do an ounce of damage to the enemy team. So I think it's just been one of those things where it's like, maybe you can get a nice, well-ranked Knight 4 comp. But then again, you have to justify running like Mordekaiser for Phantom. So Ranger 4, Knight 4, I think is something that maybe worked, but even then felt a little bit weak.
It's just like a big mid-game frontline for like a Varus and a Kindred or something, and you get Phantom from Mordekaiser, and your Varus deals your damage, and your 4 Knights are not great against magic damage comps, but there aren't that many of them yet in the middle of the game, and they're very good against like assassins or, well, other front lines because of the 40 damage reduction on attacks. And then later on, you feel very guiltless selling them all for better units. You just... Peace.
By the way, you mentioning whatever his name is, Mordekaiser, just reminded me that there were no changes to him as Tier 1 champions go.
Well, he was already fine, obviously.
Just to be clear, and if we're gonna talk about changes that didn't happen, it's a huge area. That is an interesting one, though, because maybe they're just saying, hey, Phantom's good. We can't make Mordekaiser stronger without making Phantom overpowered.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's it. He's definitely not a good unit. No,
okay. The price you pay.
I'm like, man, I must have been using him wrong because he never does anything for me. He ults super late and misses. Dies with his ult up.
Leaving him on your bench and or not purchasing him, because it sounds like you were doing fine.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? What's the ranger at 2? The green ranger at 2 that has the Varus. Yeah, I always get his name wrong. But he's like Varus in the way he casts his ult, but his ult, unlike Varus's ult, which does something, his ult does nothing. It never hits, never does anything, and is not in the least bit impactful. So I'm kind of curious that it doesn't get changed at all. But so Poppy, good.
Yeah. Now one of us gets to pretend to understand this. Savagery's attack speed buff is now multiplicative for Rengar. It increases Rengar's attack speed ratio.
I say we send Rengar a nice card and move on.
Shyvana, attack speed increased, health increased, bonus attack damage while dragon increased.
This is so weird to me. Why did Shyvana need a buff?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. I don't get it.
It's very... Shyvana's going to be a monster. Again, 3-star, so it goes into the whole thing of... It seems like they're trying to make the 3-star Earth rarity 3s better, but dragons are strong. Shapeshifters, I think, are going to be very strong now that we have the Elise at 1, and Shyvana being even more tempting.
Yeah, the Shapeshifter change is already a buff to her.
Yeah.
Although I will say that she has very few synergies, because Dragon is only synergetic with 1, and then Shapeshifter is not like in of itself particularly a build around, although it maybe is now. So I mean, it is. I agree. I think she's going to go from strong to stronger, but it is maybe that's part of what they're trying to address. Is she's, if synergies are more important now, if like Knights got a buff, Blade Masters got a buff, and Demons all got buffs as synergies, they may be trying to throw something towards the heroes that don't fit into synergies.
Yeah, fair. I
The
see
thing
both
that-
those. I feel like I lean towards more what Jorbs is saying of like this is a unit to me in the old environment that already felt strong. So I feel like the new environment has to be very different to justify the fact that she needs buffs this strong, because that's a huge change with her health. It's an extra 100 health on her. And yeah, she was getting killed quickly before, but that's why you made her rank 2. So I think it's just 90. I feel like 99% of this change is just they're pushing rank 3 unit or 3 cost units to be better.
Although to
Shyvana-
Jorbs' point earlier, sorry, Jorbs, just for half a second, then I'll get
Alright, sure.
which is that your point earlier about not itemizing level 3 units because they come at a weird time might be interesting here, because I feel like Shyvana is one of those ones that needs to be itemized to do anything, because otherwise she dies before her ult. So
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So the reason that I'm saying that I don't think this has to happen is that Shyvana's role in this game right now, in my mind, is as like a late game bullet that just completely hard counters certain comps. If your enemy is building magic damage, you can just fucking sell your comp and put an Aurelion Soul and Shyvana in with all of the items and beat their entire comp. It is this ludicrous hard counter in a way that Blitzcrank hard counters a Draven, but there's play against it. Like, this doesn't have play against it. It literally just hard counters something that people can spend the entire game building. And so making it even stronger so that people might be doing it incidentally instead of deliberately doing it to target you late game just seems weird to me. If you make something immune to half of the damage in the game, it's gonna be strong sometimes without needing high base numbers on it.
by the way, is Dragon full immunity?
Yeah.
No, 0 magic damage? Okay.
0 magic damage.
Does
You
it
get
also
damage
provide
to it.
CC immunity? So like Cho ult?
No.
Okay, I just wanted
You
to check.
can CC them and auto attack them down with sorcerers. Your demons will maybe be able to do something. You can hit them with Morellonomicon, which is true damage, or Red Buff, which is good damage. Like, there are ways to deal with it, but Aurelion Sol Shyvana is such a nightmare for sort comps to deal with right now if they don't deliberately try to solve it somehow. To the
Yeah,
point
and
that
there's
you
no
can
economical
pick them up
solution.
late game to beat a sort comp without ever planning to do it before then. Like, you just do it out of nowhere and all of a sudden you're winning where you're losing both.
On some level, I hate that it's so rock, paper, scissors there, but I do actually like that there are units in the game that you can, with very few of them, attempt to adapt to your opponent's comp. Because so many of the times it feels like I'm building a comp and often not adapting, not having the ability inside that product to adapt to my opponent's comp very much. So I do like the idea of a Baymut. Maybe this is too strong a implementation of that, but I like the idea of it.
Yeah. I preferred it when it was something that you could do, but you did it deliberately for that rather than doing it incidentally because it was strong in other places too. That's sort of how I want it to feel personally as a player of the game.
Good point from chat that you can, if you do go up against Aurelion Sol as a sorcerer player, you yourself can build Aurelion Sol. So you just, it's, nobody's doing damage to each other at all. They're just sitting there ulting each other nonstop.
That's when you bring in Rek'Sai.
Yeah, there you go.
GG.
Veigar, this will be
Galaxy
quick.
Brain.
Damage to lower star champions has a 1 in front of it now, so up from 9,999 to 19,999.
Why a 1? Why not a 9?
I know, I'm livid.
Worst
Mana
change.
cost is down, so it takes less for him to ult.
Level 3 Veigar even more enjoyable.
Yeah. Oh, I love how I think they just changed this to to make the recap at the end even worse. Just to make Veigar huge. I like this change. I like this change for Sorks. I feel like this is Sorks getting a slight buff along with Morgana, and it's nice to see those come in the 3-star slot. Gonna make those Lulu and Ari picks at 2 feel even better. So I like this change.
Although I must say, like, if we don't like Shyvana, basically like dragon immunity, basically hard countering Sorks, I do find like level 3 Veigar hard countering things like Draven hilarious, right? Since there's nothing Draven can do to protect himself from that, it's just
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. Nobody feels bad when Veigar is killing things. Everybody enjoys that.
Volibear, big ol' buffs. Health
These were
up
huge.
50. Attack speed, massive increase from 0.55 to 0.65. Attack or mana cost is down 25. Lightning attack damage ratio goes from 60% to 100% now to 80 to 100%.
What is the
Seems-
lightning attack ratio?
So I think what would happen, you know how there's like a chain lightning? He gets his, so what happens with Volibear when he gets full mana? He ultimates and his ultimate is changing his attack form so that he adds chain lightning. And it sounds like before it would do 60% of the damage at rank 1. So let's say you're doing 100 damage to the target you were meleeing. The lightning would do 60 damage to all the targets it's chaining to. Now it's going to do 80 damage to all the targets it's chaining to. And that's going to go up to 100% as you rank up.
I think this is incredible. Like a
Yeah.
faster ulting Volibear is amazing. I think he was a little weak before and he was a little squishy, and I feel like he needed RFC to do anything. But now, like, maybe he will be able to do something. Rider effects actually working with items mean that Volibear propagating his attacks to like 5 or 6 enemies is.
Yep. I thought Volibear was strong before as a brawler, and Glacial, those are both fairly strong types. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see the buff too. Kind of feels like Shyvana buff. Except
I like this buff because I feel like brawlers didn't have a late game plan, and now maybe they do a little bit more. Like they attempted to make Volibear work, and sometimes it did, and now it's like a better plan. I like it.
Yeah, me too. Akali, fix the number of bugs that would sometimes cause her ability to not deal damage. I've never noticed that. No longer cast her ability at times when no enemies would be in range at start of cast. That's funny.
I'm a little confused here. Didn't they say that they were changing a number of tier 4 champions that would have 0 synergies but huge impact on the to no longer have 0 synergies and huge impact on the game? Isn't this 2 buffs to a character that single-handedly can carry comps with a couple items?
Yep.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Shen and Kennen got buffed massively too. So like Ninja 4 just got twice as good or something.
Oh my lord. Yeah, you're 100% right. That's gross. Because Zed's unchanged and Zed was good before, so... Cool. Ninja's part of the game now, but the scariest part about this is you can still like Seraph stack on... You can stack Seraphs on her and she's not gonna bug out and do her ult at the beginning of the combat.
When does it like check? Will she jump over the enemy team and just like ult them as she goes? I fucking hope so.
I hate the fact her
not.
ult can crit. It's so dumb. Should not one-shot anything. It's a 2 attack ult. Tack attack, bam. Tack attack, bam. And if she gets, oh my god, so this is gonna be dumb as hell.
Oh my god, look at all these nerfs right now. Because we're in the tier 4. So, Brand, mana cost, 100 to 125.
Good.
That's a nerf.
Completely reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, super reasonable.
He's a
big
demon
nerf.
too, so he got a little bit of a buff from that. Elementalist got tuned down. I mean, he was just too easy to fit into everything because Elementalist was so good nerf.
Yeah, good nerf. Cho, health down, knock-up duration down a half. Hold on. It's just a little bit down at every level, except the last one.
Fine.
Sensible, Cho is another, again, this is just capturing what Riot said, which is, hey, some of these units you would just kind of build them and throw them in with no thoughts for your team, except for the fact that you're on the
nerfed his
front
health.
line.
I would have liked something else. I loved Cho's health, like how huge it was. It was just hilarious.
Yeah. Draven nerf. Oof, League of Draven is maybe seeing its way out.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it matters that much.
Completely reasonable. I think that on the current patch, the previous patch now, people were starting to get away from just having Imperial 2 with the Draven. Like, people were starting to work out that there were better things you could do and starting to work out how to beat the Draven. So, yeah, this is probably fine.
Yep.
I don't care that much about it, I guess.
It's definitely going to change the way I play. I love doing Imperial 2 and just getting Draven on there and being like, okay, coin flip that he deletes the entire team. Gnar.
Yeah, it feels like now it's Imperial 4 with Draven, and
Yep.
that's still fine, but maybe you don't care as much about Draven in it anymore. Maybe your like cannons mattering.
So I'm sad to see Gnar get a nerf.
This is a big nerf too.
Yeah,
Like,
because Gnar, I think Gnar fit in that category that Riot's describing of like, hey, don't have to fit him in. Because, I mean, he's got 3 tags. 3 really relevant and good tags, especially with his patch. So I get the nerf, but it's going to hit him hard. It's not a slight nerf.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because when they nerf all of the big like solo disruption, I do see a Sedge nerf, a Cho'Gath nerf, and the Gnar nerf. That's fairly interesting. for what that actually meant. Although weirdly an Akali buff, but nerf on these three. I think that's going to suggest that the synergies are going to be more important again, and that maybe what they're trying to push is you build teams, you don't build individual power units. But they have nerfed all three of what I consider the big tier 4 disruption units.
I think they're forcing people to realize that you can put Gnar behind other units. And that
Gnar's range, that's easy.
Yeah,
It's
Gnar has an
harder to
attack
throw
range
it.
of 2 that I think 90% of players are unfamiliar with.
How many Gnar 2s have you guys built with like a tier on them in Sork 6?
Yeah.
You all done that?
Yep. I build Gnars in everywhere I can because they're amazing.
I think I had a Death Cap Gnar. I think. No. I just had 2 rods on him, but it was different items. But you just he completely deletes the entire team, and he's ranged, so like you can't get demons on him and stuff. He's really, really strong.
Yeah.
And with Shapeshifter, 2-star Gnar is going to end up having more health, not less health.
Yeah,
Without
I think
patches
this.
changing.
I think it's all fair to say that Gnar was very strong before. Gnar is not an unfair target for nerf. This feels like a significant nerf. Not necessarily too big of a nerf, but it definitely seems like a sizable nerf.
Yeah, but where Cho'Gath and Sejuani, it's like, oh, those champions got significantly worse at what they do. With Gnar, it's like, this nerf hits some of Gnar's numbers, but I don't feel like it really changes what Gnar does.
And you also mentioned the context of them fixing Shapeshifter and now we have rank 2 Gnars, because nobody in their right mind is running rank 1 Gnar unless they're desperate for the Yordle bonus.
For sure. Wild.
Oh, true. Leona, mana cost up. Leona got a buff. Leona apparently has an ult.
Leona's ult is sick. And
Yeah,
I tried itemizing her. Today I played a game where I tried itemizing the hell out of her for mana, and she still basically only casts it once per fight. Because she cannot, 150 was a huge cap for a melee attacker that's a super slow melee attack. So I'm really pleased to see that change.
Mm-hmm. Sejuani's stun duration is down on the first 2 ranks. Not that anybody ever builds rank 3 Sejuani. So yeah, actually pretty size. I mean, again, rank 2 is pretty much what we care about here. Not so much rank 1, rank 3. Half second down. That feels sensible. It lasted forever before. It was so miserable to play against. I don't really care if I'm gonna have my Sejuani be a little bit weaker against the enemy. I'm happy not having a 4-second stun.
Yeah. I like that they provided the mid-tier stats here.
Yeah.
Imagine only CCing your entire enemy team 3.5 seconds.
I know, the smallest
Imagine
violin.
only doing that.
Yeah.
Is it a 7-tile hexagon?
How big is the board? It's about that big.
Yeah, okay, got it. Is it just, yeah, it's actually a 3 radius hexagon. Sejuani, and we already just went through a tier 5 champions, getting near the end here before some of the overall stuff. Anivia ability no longer cancels when Anivia dies.
Fine.
Nice. Anivia sucked. I'm glad she's not as suck.
I don't think she sucks that much. I think she's okay. She is
she's
very
really
very expensive, and she's a tier 5.
She's an elementalist.
I'm looking forward. I'm guaranteeing right now that I'm going to have an argument about whether Thunder is better, because they're going to look at the damage readout and they're going to be like, Brand deals more damage, see? But Anivia slows the attack speed of potentially like 4 carries at the same time by 60% or something at rank 2. I don't know.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Think
Like,
the
stats
fact
are gonna
that
be
she's
misleading.
gonna still be persisting that slow is very important, because I feel like she just always dies instantly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
She's got like, doesn't she have 4 attack range? She hasn't died. She's like one of the safest carries.
Yeah, but she's always rank 1, so I just always put her in the chopping zone. Okay, fair enough.
I rolled an Anivia
It sounds like we got
level
strategic
6.
differences here. No, I'm just
No. This is important to me. I rolled an Anivia at level 6 last night and just put items on her, and she won the entire game. Like, she's a sweet unit, and she just got slightly.
Ability target, MF. Ability target and random enemy current attack target. Now retargets her ability if the target dies during the windup. Fixed a bug where Misfortune would sometimes move and change her ult's trajectory while channeling. I've seen that plenty of times. Mana cost 75 to 100, so we've got a nerf on the mana cost. We have a... I feel like it's a buff on the retargeting if the target dies during the windup, because I feel like that's going to cause less shooting an empty corner. I feel like the fixed a bug where MF would sometimes move. I can't say if that's a buff or a nerf. And I couldn't tell you whether ability targeting a random enemy or current attack target is a buff or a nerf. It almost feels like the exact oh, it's the same as Ari.
Yeah. I'm not 100% on that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. She's a very powerful unit. And I do like that level 5, the tier 5s are relevant to something. Like I like that they're much harder to get than the tier 4s by a lot. So it'd be nice if they were impactful. And I think she is impactful, so we'll see how much this changes. Her ult is kind of dumb sometimes, and it makes you laugh so hard when it kills the entire team from full. So maybe that shouldn't be something that's included.
I think that's going to be a Sork 6 change. I think a couple of months from now, Sork 6 is going to drop to like 60% instead of 100%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Or maybe just affect sorcerers, some sort of rework there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so ability now applies on-hit effects. That's cool. It's a nice buff. Knock-up duration is up 1/4 of a second at all levels. I think damage is increased at rank 2 and rank 3. Wow, now he's doing as much damage with his ultimate at rank 2 as he was doing before at rank 3. That's pretty good.
Yeah, slightly better piece. Blade Master buffs as well, keep in mind.
Yeah.
He was a cool unit anyways, because he was like, if you had one slot open at some weird time, he's just a massive tank that has a bunch of disruption. I like him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Yasuo. I think is an interesting piece.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Items.
Items. General items no longer benefit from ability power, so let's take this one by one on these two. Items no longer benefit from ability power. That's a locket nerf, basically, right?
I have no idea what that means.
Locket of the Iron Solari.
No, I understood the locket nerf. Sorry, I meant I'm not totally sure what this means. The items no longer benefit from ability power.
So yeah, I think the way I'm reading this is locket is no longer scaling with ability power.
So locket used to give more shield from Sork bonus, right? And also from death cap, I think. Like if you had a needlessly large rod on your unit, it would get more shield from locket, I think.
Yes, correct. That would also be it. Well, maybe, but it could, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. And then
maybe, yeah, we'll put that in the maybe category, yeah.
Luden's splash damage used to care about your unit's ability power, so if you had death caps on your Luden's unit, it would start to splash for way, way more. I'm not sure if Statikk Shiv did this or not. Like, this is why I'm saying I'm not sure what this means, because there are a bunch of different items.
Yeah.
I don't know if Morello's scaled off that.
But we can say with confidence, I think we can say all of us probably with very high confidence, not certainty, but Luden's and Locket are two things that I think we're all very confident are probably no longer, are two things that are going to get affected by this, and there's probably a whole laundry list of ones that might be, but I think the red letter ones are Luden's and Locket.
So Lucian, the hero, used to his ult benefits from ability damage, right? Or whatever the fucking stat is called, right? Like the death cap on him makes him do more damage, right?
Yeah.
But this says items no longer benefit from ability power.
Correct.
But his ult would still benefit from death cap.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just basically saying items don't items aren't interacting with each other as strongly as they used to. That's one way to think about it.
Okay.
But yeah, you're going to notice this in terms of you're not going to want to build nearly as many lockets necessarily, or Luden's Akali abuse is going to hopefully tank, which thank God. You never had that thing versus Akali where she'd have a Luden's and a death cap and you just see your entire 4 people immediately go off the board. That's what that was.
That was an item interaction? I just assumed it was her ult.
It was Luden's not only Luden's ability power increasing Luden's ability damage, because Luden itself gives ability power, but it's also death cap giving it. So this is just
that was an infinite loop on her or something.
Yeah, it would just basically do an insane amount of damage. So Luden is straight up, I believe, just nerfed as well, because Luden now had a fractional benefit from the ability power it was giving itself, and now it's not getting that anymore.
Good.
Yep. Cursed Blade. Oh, hold on. Spatula now doubles the stat power of its sister component. For example, Yasuo Ghostblade grants 40 attack damage.
I think that's a big change.
Yeah. It's a
Those
huge
items-
demon item nerf, because that's going to give you now 40 mana at the start of a combat.
Yeah, all of these things are very, very strong, and those items were all good.
I'm not against it though, because I was actually just talking to my chat today. I think comeback mechanics are something that's good for the health of the game. And now lower pick carousel picks that are going to get spatulas may actually be able to build them into useful items in time to actually have a chance to come.
Yeah,
Shiv, which
I
is a
wonder if
single
it's
spatula.
I wonder if it's big enough to make loss streaking or intentionally a thing. You
Yeah,
care
that'd be
about.
interesting to see.
I sort of don't want it to be that good. If it's that good, I think it's a problem, because playing the early round deliberately
I'm a
trying
little
to take
concerned-
damage is just.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to
That's all
say,
wanted
I
to
think
say.
this is interesting because I think one of the best items is getting even better with this, which is Glacial Hammer. Just more health is good, and putting it on some units is going to be nice. Then again, you're usually trying to put Glacial Hammer on your carries, so might be an interesting effect.
I really like the fact that there's a 3-item limit to heroes in this game.
Thank God, yeah. Can you imagine how stupid it would be to go up against a 6-item unit?
Yep.
Cursed Blade can now reduce targets to 0 stars.
Which I assume means they just turn into Fiora.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna put 0-star units and 4-star units into the game, you have to tell us what their stats are, right? Like, what is that? I have literally no idea what that means.
It's a positive
and there's
number.
no way I could.
It's a positive number including 0.
Great. It means something cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't you worry about 0 stars. Let me worry about blank. Fixed a bug where Cursed Blade would reset an enemy's champion level if it triggered a second time.
Is that what was causing the healing?
I have no idea.
Curse Blade, if I would attack if I attacked a target with a Curse Blade who had a guy who had a bunch of attack speed, the opponent receiving the damage essentially was. I wonder if that's what it's fixing. I hope it's fixing that. But we have no idea what this does. We should move
Yeah.
on.
Oh my god.
I agree.
What if it can make a target -1 stars, but it like flips to 255 like Gandhi used to do in Civilization?
Rank 5, rank 255, 9,000%
Yeah.
increase.
I really hope that happens.
Me too.
They can hot fix it after a few
Oh, hey,
hours, but I really hope
fam.
that happens for a while.
Frozen Heart effect now applies more consistently to any unit near the wearer. It always felt like there was some lag before, so it just maybe they're just kind of reducing the lag.
Anything they do to take the lesser used items and make them more used, I think is to like balance out item consistency. So I think this is fine.
I don't know what it means, what it says there. Like, putting Frozen Heart on Pyke, my understanding is that what it does right now is Pyke jumps into the enemy team, and as he ults through them, he applies the debuff for 3 seconds to everything that he passes. My understanding of how Frozen Heart works on Pikes is that. But I can't actually like read something that says that that's true. I also don't know what it does now.
Only
What
0
this
star
sentence
Pyke
means
does
for
that.
it. Yeah, well, we can experiment with that, I guess, and see what happens. Putting it on an assassin Pyke in particular, like it can be strong potentially if it works the right way.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if by making it more consistent and applying to nearby units, if it's going to apply less to folks that they've kind of temporarily stood by or gone through. Guardian Angel revive delay is down from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. Health restored is up from 500 to 1,000. Bug fix Guardian Angel now properly clears grievous wounds. Cool. So Guardian Angel buff, going back to what Filthy was saying in terms of, hey, let's take an item that's not seeing as much play and make it better. Is this going to make it good enough to be worth the sword? Is this going to be good enough to be worth the chain vest? I still
You
feel
run
like
this in with,
probably
like,
not, but your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting if you do this now, like on a frontline tank that you're expecting to die, maybe one with an ult that quick cast ult or an ult that goes. I'm thinking maybe like Aatrox or something with this. Like maybe you're able to use this to actually ult regularly. It might actually be good enough. 1,000 HP is a lot better than 500. 2 seconds means they might actually be in the fight. If they die early, they might get back in the fight. I mean, how long do fights last on average? 10 seconds? 15?
Depends on the time of the game, I think. How long does redemption take to does anybody know?
I have no idea.
I feel like it's 3 seconds maybe, but not sure. But if you could put redemption on a guardian angel unit and have them get hit by their own redemption when they respawn, it could be.
That'd be sexy.
Yeah.
Does oh yeah, I guess I'll
They
have to
changed redemption though.
Yeah, I'm curious if redemption procs when they die the first time as well. Do you know that? Do you know if they do?
It procs it when they're at 25%. Well, we'll get to it. It
Oh,
got
okay.
changed a little.
Got it. So what the hell? Ginsu Rageblade, attack speed per stack 3% to 4%.
I think it's fine. I think Jorbs nailed this in his review video when he did the item reviews, which is that Ginsu's requires a very long time to dominate. It's very, very powerful, noticeably in the early rounds where there's not a lot of units on the board. And then like one unit getting all this stuff happens because the combat's so slow. But in the later game, like you're not getting all that many attacks off before all these powerful abilities just like dominate the field. So it's kind of interesting to see.
Keep in mind that, well, we haven't gotten to it yet, I don't think, but recurve bow just went from 15 to 20, so it's actually exactly the same ratio to recurve bow still. It's probably just trying to keep in line with the other attack speed changes, not really meant to be a buff.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's one of those things where Ginsu's Rageblade has already felt like a strong item in terms of just effect and practice as a damage multiplier, and it's also the type of thing where when your attacks give you more attack speed, where you have a rate of attack speed based on how much you've attacked, introducing more attack speed significantly increases the overall rate of the equation. So I think I think it makes sense that this is probably within context of the other attack speed changes of, low attack speed champions having lower attack speed increases from attack speed items. So I think this is, again, just within the greater context, because I have no impression that Ginsu Rageblade needed a buff. So I think this is just trying to make it work under the new circumstances.
Yeah, I suspect so too.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Does
sorry, go
attack speed on Kale do more than it used to because her attack speed starts at more than
Yes.
1.1 or something? So attack speed on Kale is actually more impactful.
Correct. Yes. Assuming we can take the patch notes at their word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except at level 2.
Which Kale turns into a mystery box at level 2.
I wonder still how it interacts with Ranger. If Ranger is like an extra, like if something's at whatever. Somebody do a video about it and I'll watch it. I look forward to that.
Yeah,
Ionic Spark.
The only thing I can say with confidence is I hope they're not buffing Ginsu's Rageblade. I hope, in effect, this is not a stronger item than it was before.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was fine.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it needed to be stronger, would be my thought. Hextech Gunblade fixed a bug where Spell Vamp was sometimes not properly guaranteed. Fun. No longer benefits from item effects looking at you, Shyvana with Thornmail. There you go.
Who do you use Hextech Gunblade on?
Akali sometime.
MF.
Shyvana, maybe?
MF
Not
benefits from the
much.
damage and the speed, or the ability.
But
power.
it has to be a unit that's taking damage without dying.
Yeah.
MF can be pretty binary, like if something starts dealing damage to her, she dies. MF2, like I've built it on
Swain.
Draven when I couldn't make a BF, or couldn't make a Bloodthirster rather. I just like didn't have the pieces. Draven's pretty tanky though. So I'll build a Hextech this time.
Very related question, just out of curiosity, the Ginsu's Rageblade question before we move on. If you could pick 3 items on Draven facing a mixed comp, so you fight some physical and some sort magic-based comps, what 3 items do you want on him?
What's my Draven's role? Is he like a solo carry for all damage, or is he part of Imperial 4? Like, what's he doing in the comp?
He's a solo carry.
Solo carry.
Like Imperial
if he's
2,
a solo carry,
Katarina.
I think that at this point in the game, he needs to really stack damage heavy, but I think you don't want to carry. I think what you want him to have is like Dragon's Claw, Phantom Dancer, Rapid Fire Cannon, probably, and you want him to be part of like 2 or 3 units that deal a lot of damage, and he's gonna be really hard to kill.
This is
if
my
you're
issue
solo
with him
carrying
too.
with him, like Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, something with a sword and the last one.
I have a very hard time fitting Ginsu's Rageblade on Draven. This is just like, he often needs to be able to survive the late game magic damage. So the claw becomes super important. I often need to have some sort of either lifesteal or like assassin evasion, one or the other. So either PD or like a bloodthirster, and I pretty much have to have rage fire cannon to make him anything. I'm always curious where the hell Rageblade fits in. For me, it always tends to be on the people whose ults actually do something, like Ashe and Varus are people I want Rageblade on a lot of times.
Brands
Yeah.
Rageblade, Arousal Souls.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Terrible.
But it's not for me like a physical damage dealing hard carry item most of the time, at least when
I think a powerful thing that attack damage based carries do in this game is they do front loaded damage, where the spellcasters take a while to get their ults off. The attack damage people can like kill Cho'Gath before it ults.
Yeah.
And Rageblade doesn't help them do that, so it feels a little bit awkward.
All right, not to derail. Sorry, Dolphin.
Oh, no. It's good. Good conversation. Ionic Spark now deals true damage instead of magic damage, so that I imagine is a buff. Fixed a bug where Ionic Spark was applying 75 damage instead of 200. Nice, I guess.
Usable now?
Buff.
Yeah.
This item's like, yeah, this item's so, like, that'll kill Lucian, right? If you're playing a Lucian early rounds and somebody builds an Ionic Spark, your Lucian is just gonna die.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what if you can build like a suppression like brawler comp that just runs like 3 Ionic Sparks across, and there's all the
Fucking love it.
casters just like instantly die.
We gotta find out. Somebody to do the research, see what the highest attack speed frontliner is. Highest attack speed for a range 1 unit. Fiora, we're in there. Let's go. Fiora, Ionic Spark.
Ionic Spark. No,
Ionic Spark is on them
Their
casting
cast.
spells.
Yeah.
So you
Dolphin
put it
when
on,
they cast, it counters Fiora. Ionic Spark is the Fiora counter.
Unless
Well, that's
she
what's going to
requests
happen.
the
We're
true
going to get into an
damage.
arms race where each
She
team
only
has
has
an
about
Ionic Spark
140
Fiora.
health. It's gonna be exciting. So okay, I'm excited to see the new Ionic Spark. I think it's gonna add a lot. And this is what I'm saying. Like half the item, like chat gets on me sometimes about this, and I was just like, half the items in the game were bugged up till now. Fixing like half these items to actually work is going to be very interesting. Going to add a lot to the game.
Yeah. Is it an Akali killer too? Chat ask.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Depends how many we were running. If Akali takes
7.
600 every 2 attacks.
7 of them.
Oh yeah, then yes.
I could see this making tier a higher pick in Carousel.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, tier is a pretty late pick right now in Carousel. It usually will drift with the Negatron cloaks. It's like probably the second least drafted or third least drafted between cloaks and belts.
Does Ionic Spark build out of tier Negatron? You can tell how much I care about it.
It builds out of tier bow.
Oh, it's a bow item? Oh.
No.
Yeah, right?
No, hold
Chat.
on. No, because tier and bow is Statikk Shiv.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Statikk Shiv.
No, that's not.
I'm
no, it is
thinking of
Negatron.
Ionic Spark
item.
is
Oh, it's
Shell
Negatron.
Rod. Shell Rod. It's Cloak
Negatron
Rod.
Needle Sea Large Rod.
Yeah,
not a
sorry. I've been
tier
talking
level.
about a different item than you two this entire time, so I'm going to go ahead and edit this part out later.
All right,
sorry.
I
What game?
got the producers on it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was talking about Statikk Shiv. Oh, okay.
It's
It's a
another Rod
Negatron
item.
Rod. Yeah, Rod already has a lot of use. If it was tier Negatron, you would like build that all the time just 'cause, like it. Yeah, whatever.
Everybody would have them.
It's
Yeah.
still gonna be good though, because they nerfed some of the rod interactions. So like pure item interactions with rods are now less impactful, right? And there's a fair number of like comps that the magic damage being done by the ults isn't all that relevant. So maybe this is now like a thing where you're doing like physical damage dealing, but you keep getting rods so that you can still build units that are useful or items that are useful to your comp. Maybe we'll see. I'm looking forward to playing with the new items.
Yeah. Locket of the Iron Solari now shields the wearer in the champion's 2 spaces to the left and right of the wearer at the start of the round. Shield value 200 to 300.
So it's now a brawler item.
I think it's an assassin item.
Oh my lord, that's
Well,
so
both.
cool.
Don't brawlers and assassins line up across the map?
Yeah. I think
Sweet.
it was already strong for 200 shield early rounds, and now it's like getting silly. I think it's a really good early item. It goes on any comp, I think, late game, because you can make any comp. You can position any comp to use that. I think it actually got like. I mean, they took away the Sork scaling, right? So the broken thing it doesn't work anymore, but I think it got better just in general.
Sure, as a standalone item, it's probably better. And
I feel like I will
now that
always
they're
build
not
it.
stacking one locket, it's not increasing the effect of the other 2 lockets. So yeah, I think this could be a fine change. I think locket is still a buildable item, and I think it still is good. I think it's going to be even stronger in a lot of situations. I think to your point, assassins are going to get a lot more survivability. Front lines are going to get a lot more survivability. So yeah. Luden's Echo.
Which one is that?
Luden's Echo is the one where it does 200 damage splash on an ability hit.
It's the one that make Akali blow you up, but doesn't anymore.
Oh. What is it crafted with?
Rod tier.
Rod tier, yep.
Rod tier. Okay.
I love the way they worded this. Fixed a bug where targets weren't taking the correct amount of damage. Is that saying that, you know, it was doing an infinite amount of damage before? Like, I just feel like this is their way of kind of beating around the bush that Luden's was doing a stupid amount of damage.
So walk me through this then. So let's say we have this on like Lucian, this item. Lucian fires off his ult, and now it's hitting the target for more damage. This is primary target damage, and then splashing around it. Is that accurate?
So let's say so the brand ult is the situation you're given, right? So if I have 3 units just in a line, so 1, 2, 3, if it hits the brand ult hits unit number 2, units number 1 and number 3 are gonna take 200 damage each when the brand ult hits.
What is this primary target damage 100 to 200? Isn't the primary target the first target?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
It's like any AoE. It's like an AoE with 1 radius, so it hits the thing in the middle too.
Okay.
It's creating an AoE, I believe, every...
Like a secondary explosion, you're saying?
Yeah. I don't know if it creates an AoE on every bounce of Brand Ultimate. I don't know if, like, Garen spins. I don't know when it creates the AoE. I don't know that. But that's what the AoE is in terms of its shape. I think, except I've also seen it not do that before, so I don't know. Okay. But it says that it's bugged, so now it works, and we'll find out.
Yeah, it is. I would be curious to see on something like Garen. It's a great example because that's hitting multiple times a second. So what is that? Just splashing, 200 damage, every couple milliseconds or every, a couple fractions of a second? That doesn't seem right, but who knows?
And if it triggers once per ability, but the ability hits multiple tiles, where does it trigger? Does it trigger on every tile? And if it triggers on every tile, does it overlap?
So chat seems very confident that it's once per ability. So let's go back to the brand example, and chat might want to pop in here.
So the first one or the
first
third
bounce?
One? Which
it
bounce?
Seems like it would do it.
The first bounce.
We're gonna see. As I said, I'm excited about new items.
This honestly, the changes they're describing, it just sounds like how I thought it worked before. Like 200 damage, and then AoE damage is 200 damage, which is, yeah. I feel like the changes describes exactly
formula?
what I thought it was.
AoE damage, 0 plus 1.0 AP to 200. What?
Basically, what we were saying before, it scaled off ability power, and didn't have any flat damage, and now they're saying it's just flat damage. I think it's what they're trying, because it's bizarre to say 0 plus. Like I would say, like what the hell? Why did you put that 0 there? But I think they're just trying to signify that it didn't have any flat damage, and it did have ability power scaling. Now it has no ability power scaling and 200 flat damage.
Gotcha.
Morella Nomicon got a buff. Cool. Max HP damage per second, 2.5% to 3%.
This item does not suppress healing.
Yes, it does.
It did.
I thought it says in the description of the item.
Chat tells me it doesn't. Chat tells me it does not. It
really?
Says it deals burn damage equal to 2.5% of the enemy's maximum health per second. But unlike the red buff, which says specifically afterwards prevents healing, this one does not say specifically afterwards that it prevents healing.
I think it says specifically on the item's description that it prevents healing.
Well,
it does prevent.
You're certain it prevents healing? That was very clear. They corrected me very clearly on that today.
Weird. Because it sounds like
tooltip
it sounds like
says that
Jorbs
it-
and I are saying with very high confidence that it absolutely prevents healing, and it sounds like your chat is saying with very high confidence that it doesn't prevent healing.
1,000,000%. It prevents healing so hard that like something with the Guardian Angel wouldn't revive if they had Morello on.
Okay.
Which has been changed now. That's the
fortunately.
thing. Yeah, which is
But
sensible.
it definitely prevents healing.
Rapid Fire Cannon now updates in response to range changes. RIP Rapid Fire Cannon in Italy.
I don't think that changes anything, except now Nidalee a little bit worse, which is fine.
It's sad. I'm a little
Is
sad.
that buff to recurve bows?
Yeah, recurve bows get buffed.
Sort of.
Necessary.
It's a buff to them on like Kale.
Yeah.
But
It's one of those
overall,
things where I think
do
they're
less on
adjusting
Draven.
values, so attack speed items don't feel, because the only things that increase attack speed are items and buffs, right? So that's the things they're having to adjust in response to their scaling change. Redemption now triggers at 25%. What? Now triggers at 25% health, no longer damages enemies. It damaged enemies?
I didn't know that either.
Sometimes, inconsistently, it would deal true damage to enemies, but not always.
Did
know
it
how
say
it
that
goes.
in the item effect?
Sometimes it be like that.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah, the tooltip for the item is inconsistently this randomly deals true damage of some amount to enemies.
but only on
And there's a little
on
shrug
Mordekaiser.
emoji at the end, yeah.
Because like he had to redeem the fact he did nothing while he was alive.
This deals 1,000 minus the amount of damage that the champion did
Yeah, exactly.
during
That's why
life.
for Mordekaiser it was always 1,000 damage.
Gonna have, yeah, there's a lot of learning going on here for me. Runan's Hurricane bolts is reduced.
Hold on, I have
Sure.
a question. I want an answer. Predicting the future here. Do you think that triggers on a phantomed unit at the start of fight?
Yeah.
Probably.
I think it's
Depends-
meant to, but that they forgot to code it so that it did.
There's
Depends if
not a
Phantom
constant
sets your
check
health
going
to
on.
100 or if it reduces your health to 100.
It depends on how the item's programmed. I'll be curious. We could flip a coin on this.
I think
whether-
right now when you see Phantom, it shows you the empty hit points above 100. So presumably it doesn't set your HP to 100. If it does, it leaves your max HP the same. And if Redemption is just triggering at 25% health, but what if it triggered exactly 25% health? So if you're set to 24, it didn't. I guess okay. We're just throwing darts at.
I'd put my quarter on. It would be triggering because I feel like somebody would have reported it and been like,
Yeah,
"Why
we'll
didn't my
see.
redemption proc?"
Yeah, we'll see.
Runan's Hurricane, now only one bolt. Bolt damage is down, but now applies on-hit effects. The one thing that people wanted Runan's for, now does the thing, except now less damage and one less bolt. Are we building Runan's now?
Maybe. I think Glacial Stuns and Demon Burn are both still really good.
Runan's Ash?
Gives more MR? Is there something that cares about that?
Draven. Except Draven doesn't. Draven doesn't have any on-hit effects. Is his ult an on-hit
Not
effect?
really. Is Rage Blade an on-hit effect? It's an attack effect, right? So it wouldn't
It's
stack more
per
from
attack,
this.
not per hit, right?
But I think it does stack more with Gunslingers.
Because you're attacking
maybe
twice,
Blade.
not which is causing 2 hits.
Yeah.
That's just my
Yeah.
guess.
Blade Master Ginsu's is actually something interesting. Is there a ranged Blade Master? Can't be, right?
Yeah, it's called Draven.
Right?
Seraph's Embrace fixed a bug where Seraph's effect wouldn't stack. Interesting. I never stacked Seraphs, but there you go.
What is a Seraph?
That's the tier.
Oh, okay,
double
yeah.
two.
No, that either.
Statikk Shiv now always hits 3 additional targets rather than all champions in a frontal cone.
What?
Yeah, apparently if, like, let's say
Regardless
they
of
curved
green?
around you, it wouldn't hit people to your side or behind you. For some reason.
Isn't Static Shift like it's
Chain.
a small AoE, right?
And Statikk Shiv is what I thought Ionic Spark was, where it's it's every third attack you create a little chain attack, kind of like Volibear. So it hits somebody and then hits 3 other people.
But they have to be still adjacent. It's not like it's gonna arc across the field and hit things.
I'm
in the
not
back.
sure how many tiles it'll go across.
I don't think they have to be adjacent.
Yeah,
Looking
I
at it
think
on
it can
the PB,
go
it
across at
doesn't
least
seem
one
like
tile.
They have to be adjacent. I think it's just going to hit
Very
3
strong.
random, like the one you were attacking, and 2 other random ones. I don't know how it will pick maybe the closest targets, something else.
Now only activates a maximum of 1 time per launch attack.
What the fuck does that mean? What is a launch attack?
I think it's an assassin thing is a launch attack.
Oh, man.
It's my only guess. I have no idea.
I like that. I like it, the curveball at the end of the patch notes about a launch attack. A whole
It
new
does
Well,
stat.
that's the really hard part, right? We've filled out the rest of the Sudoku, and now it's like, oh, I see.
Yeah. This has actually been run through a Markov chain just for some additional interest. Thornmail, reflect damage, 35% of physical damage is changed to 100% of physical damage mitigated. Okay, there we go. We're going with the double Braum, double Leona dream.
So
I'm testing this, by the way, as
explain this.
soon as it
Hot
goes live.
Damn. So if Shyvana is reducing 80% of incoming physical damage, and something attacks her for 2,000, they're gonna take 1,600 true damage.
Yes. Correct. It's yes. Everything
right.
you said is right.
that's a big Thornmail buff then, basically you're saying. So it's unmitigated damage that's reflected.
I'm
Is what
telling
we're
you,
like.
this is I'm taking my double rank 2 Braum, double rank 2 Leona, and I'm gonna just destroy the universe with my Thornmail.
Yeah. Although the
420
problem is your
armor.
strategy got nerfed because now she can actually cast her stun, which means they won't be auto attacking.
All things in balance.
Yeah.
Warmog's interesting change. I really like this change. I don't know if it's
Really? This looks
I don't
terrible.
know. I don't mean if like it's gonna be good, but I think it's an interesting change. Like I might want them to revert this in a week, but I still think it's a cool change.
In
So
what
yeah,
fucking world do units spend a bunch of time at low HP?
unfortunately, my universe.
It just feels, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know
the
if
thing
it's,
is, in Warmogs, you're putting it on just some big chonker. So the idea, I mean, the math of this is pretty easy. Basically, this item is better if you're below half health, and worse if you're above half health.
well, what I see it as, things die so fast in this game that whereas before as you started taking damage, you started getting heals. And it's pretty quick anyways. Warmogs was never great because your guys died too quick. Now it's like when you start taking damage, you don't start regenerating health until you're basically below a certain, I mean, you are, but the minimal is such a minimal amount, right?
Yeah, I mean 50%, right? Half of it. So this item is better now at below half health, starting
Seems
right
so
at
bad
half
to me.
health.
What do you think, Jorbs?
It's yeah. Go ahead, Jorbs.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say anything great about this. I think it is. I think that the flat health that you got on average was a lot more than the regenerated health that you got. Like you put 2 giant belts on the unit, and that gives them flat health. And I think that interacts with shapeshifters, where they get more health when they transform based on how much total health they have. So if you have a Warmogs on a shapeshifter, yeah, there's a regen component to it, but I think actually the health is possibly the thing you care about more. So that the regen changed. I think people always have Morellos and casters way. Like, you're not going to win games by regenerating with Warmogs, I don't think, against people who know what items do. They're going to build a red buff or a Morello.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Zeke's Herald now only grants attack speeds to champions 2 spaces to the left and right of the wearer, so this is getting the locket treatment. Attack speed aura is 100% to 15%. Which is kind of funny because I feel like attack speed is worse now, so I don't feel like this item is much better.
Yeah, it seems sort of similar. It still does the same thing. It does it about as well, I would say. Maybe slightly worse because it doesn't hit as many tiles.
Yeah, I would say this seems like, I feel like with Locket, they kind of were just changing, like, okay, now you can't stack Locket, but by the way, it's still going to be a pretty strong item. This to me just feels like a nerf to Zeke's. Because of the attack speed change overall. Like, attack speed aura is not having as big of an effect on characters that don't have the 1.0 ratio, which is every single character essentially besides Kale. So, I don't know. Feels like a weaker item now. I like Zeke's. I like stacking Zeke's. And you don't have the... You can still stack Zeke's. It's just going to be less impressive.
Yeah, I guess this one actually feels more impactful than the Locket change to me because Kindred, because Kindred wants your people to be in the Kindred ultimate shape, and Kindred likes this item, but this item wants them to be in a different shape. I think that's actually pretty tough to work around when you're positioning your comp.
Could be good for assassins if we're
Definitely still fine for assassins. I think it has not changed at all for assassins. You can put assassins in a place where 5 people get Zeeks right now, and you can put it in a place where 5 people get Zeeks with the change. Or this is only 4, I guess, not 5. The wearer doesn't get it as well. But as long as you're on the back 2 ranks with assassins, it doesn't matter that much. It's just you can't be on the front rank. So assassins couldn't get all the circle around the aura anyway. And you could only get 5 of them beforehand with Zeeks or Locket, because you couldn't be on the front rank because you start in melee range with the enemy. And
you want to have that jump. That was provided.
Exactly.
Are Zeeks and Locket still going to affect the person that has it on them or not anymore?
Ooh, I don't know. I assume so, but I don't know.
Because it's 5 if it affects the person it's on too, right? It's 2.
It's 5 with Locket and 4 with Zeeks, I think.
Why do you see 4 with Zeeks? Why is it not exactly the same as Locket?
Because Zeeks is like because that's how the items are.
Wait, are
Zeeks is an attack speed buff from a sword and a belt. Do I have knowledge? Yes, I have knowledge that it works.
You have knowledge that Zeeks, as it stands right now, not on this with this patch, but prior to this patch that we're talking about now, the Zeeks did not affect the person using it.
Yes.
It did. Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure that doesn't.
I thought it was just Locket. I thought it was always just basically a Locket clone. It starts the beginning.
People are saying that it does? Man. Okay, maybe it does.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways.
We will learn.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Bug fixes. Let's only really go through updated missile visual effects on Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Enchanted Crystal Arrow makes sound. So we got an Ash buff here, forehead. Fixed a bug where champions leveling upon combining from a shared draft selection sometimes duplicated the champion. Damn, I wish I had that one.
That's what Warwick was on like turn 2.
Yeah, I wonder if that's how people were getting some rank 3 units. Just like, I wonder if anybody exploited that. Sometimes where I saw games where people had like 3 rank 3s in the middle of stage 2, it was really confusing. Reconnected to a TFT game will no longer prevent end of game stats from being displayed. Don't care. Fixed a number of bugs that would cause melee champions to AFK and stop moving. Nice. So this is also an inadvertent nerf to the AFK ping.
Yep.
Or the MIA ping. A billion other bug fixes listed in the sections above. Cool. That's everything. So, thoughts overall? Good patch, bad patch?
Jorb's first.
Good patch. Good patch. All of the changes are completely reasonable. I like that they're fixing bugs. The game's going to be more interesting now that more stuff works, and nothing jumps out to me as more broken than the things that are already broken.
Akali jumps out to me as something that may be more broken than it was before, but maybe not. Maybe the item interaction stopped it from being so insane.
My line for more broken than already broken is like the Sork 6 buff with lockets. And we fixed that, and I don't see anything that's even
I'm pleased
worse
with it
than
overall.
That was. Although
I'm really
there might
pleased
be
with the
some
item changes. Really, really pleased with the idea that a lot of the items that were basically unusable or bugged or broken have been changed in a way that's they can at least have some impact. That excites me a lot. Means there'll be a lot of open new things that come out of the build. I really like the Blade Master changes. Maybe that will be a little bit more of a reasonable thing to build. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the patch go live.
Yeah, same here. I'm kind of floored by how strong they went with the level or the rarity 3 champion changes. I think we're going to see a kind of different team compositions trying to complement your rank 4 champions or rarity 4 champions. A lot less of that meta of just chopping together a Draven with Imperial 1 and throwing him in, or getting a Gnar or getting a Cho'Gath. So yeah, I think we're going to see, I think it's all positive changes. There's not a single thing in here that I think I disagree with. I guess the only stuff that kind of I thought was odd was some of the buffs to what I thought were the already strong rank 3, or sorry, rarity 3 champions. But even that, don't dread. I don't look at that and scoff. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
When does this go live? I know it's tomorrow, but when tomorrow?
Don't know if we have a date or a timestamp for that.
The level 1 patch goes live at 6 a.m. Level 3 patch goes live at 10 p.m. Level 2 patch goes live at some point in between, but we don't know which one.
Nice. Do we know what those mean? Oh yeah, it's
No, I was just making that up.
yeah,
That was a
I
meme.
realized it took me a second.
I think the only thing that I'm concerned about are pirates and ninjas right now on this patch, and bugs that are not clear in the patch notes. Like if a bug makes something super broken, then it'll be broken and need hot fixing. But yeah, pirates and ninjas seem like the things to watch out.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
excited to see it.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to ranked. It's not even on this list. They added, was it at the beginning
Maybe
or
it's at
something?
the very top.
I hope it ranks you in some very bizarre way that makes no sense at all. Not like a number, but like a name or a description.
Yes, it does from iron to challenger. That's exactly what it does.
Perfect. Perfect. Is iron bad? Is challenger bad? I don't know. Like if you told me what's higher, iron or challenger, I wouldn't know how to answer that and just out of context.
Well, now we know we can lie to you about that.
I still don't know. Right now, after reading this and having this 2-hour conversation with you guys, I don't know what's better, iron or challenger.
It leaves mysteries at the end of it that you can't even solve with these patch notes. Look for the next patch notes to fill
That
in
makes
some of
sense.
the
It's like
details.
an incentive to read the second set of patch notes.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
Dolphin,
the cliffhanger for the sequel.
Yeah.
Dolphin, thank you for having me on for this. I enjoyed chatting through with two other excellent players, getting some sense of it from hearing your guys' thoughts. You could explain some of the things that made no sense to me, which was nice.
Yeah. And it was nice to pretend to understand most of it. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jorbs and FilthyRobot, for coming on and going through and checking out the patch notes with me.
Enjoy the rest of the
Thanks for
stream,
having
guys.
me, Dolphin.
All right.
See ya.
Later, guys.